Huge thanks for all your amazing support, guys. Today, we're diving into a captivating tale titled 𝒃𝒔𝒉𝒚, My Contract Husband. Let's get started. Inside a palace-like manor, Celine and her mother-in-law, Camila, share tea amidst a suffocating, tense silence. The peace shatters when Camila bluntly demands an explanation for why Celine isn't pregnant yet. Camila harshly reminds her that the family desperately needs an heir, claiming she was only chosen because of her family's pedigree and fertility. To keep the Duke's bloodline alive, she even calls her useless. Goodness, Camila is truly the ultimate mother-in-law from hell. Celine is used to the nagging after 2 years. She endures every insult for the sake of her secret deal. The bargain she struck with Camila. Girl, don't become a martyr. Show yourself some mercy. She married the dying Duke solely to produce an heir. But she knows she's framed for murder soon. Accused of killing her own husband. How insane. Suddenly, their cold confrontation is cut short. A maid panics, the Duke has collapsed again. They rush to his side only to find him, writhing in pure agony. Despite her fear, Celine notices the Duke looks breathtaking even while suffering. Seriously, Celine, get it together. Your husband is dying and you're admiring his looks? Though, we can't really blame her. The man is undeniably built like a god. He reaches out and she instinctively takes his hand. Big mistake. This sickly Duke has a grip like iron. Sir, let go! The maids even mistake her pained expression for deep concern for her husband. Talk about dense maids. Alone with Ahmad in his chambers, she notices him desperately whispering. Leaning in, she asks if he's okay. He barely gasps out a request for Dr. Raymond. Suddenly, he pulls her down, pinning her beneath him. Oh my, and it's only chapter 1. Stay calm, everyone, if that's even possible. Celine stares up at Ahmad, completely dazed. Looming over her, he coldly orders her to get out. Wow, handsome or not, he's quite the jerk. She's stunned into silence. Seeing her frozen, the Duke demands she release his hand immediately. Snapping out of it, she snaps back that he is the one holding her. Go off, Queen. Ahmad repeats his cold command. Celine reminds herself he's just a sick man needing patience. She tries to soothe him, but he lashes out, warning she'll never get what she desires from him. Trying to help this stubborn man is exhausting. His temper flares the moment he wakes, draining his energy. After a heavy silence, she composes herself and insists that he take his medicine. She tries her best to persuade him, even as the Duke acts like a stubborn, pouting child. Her patience is legendary. I couldn't do it, but for a face that pretty, maybe I could. Sensing her pity, he snaps. He can't stand her looking at him like he's already a corpse. He's dying, after all. He snatches the tonic and swallows it down with pure, aggressive spite. Medicine drips down his jaw, tracing paths over his exposed neck and chest. Wait, what? That is definitely not how you take medicine, sir. He's wasting it. But we aren't complaining. Even the maids are flustered. Later, Rona notices the red marks on Celine's wrist from his grip. Celine brushes it off, focused on her future. For 2 weeks, others thought she'd lost her mind. Memories of her past life flooded back. She's trapped in a book as the villainess who kills her husband. What a dark twist. In the original story, Celine faces execution for poisoning the Duke. The Duke's mother ensures she suffers a slow, agonizing death. It was a cycle of pure hatred. Remembering the novel's plot nearly drove her insane. Who wouldn't panic knowing their gruesome fate? Destined for a horrific end, it's no wonder people thought she was acting completely unhinged. Honestly, we'd probably lose our minds too if we were in her desperate shoes. Determined to survive, she searches for a loophole in the contract Camila forced her to sign. To provide an heir. Looking back, she'd never have signed that cursed deal. If not for her parents' death, she worked herself to the bone just to feed her siblings. Poor Celine was drowning in debt. With siblings to feed and no school, the burden was crushing her soul. Then, Lady Camila appeared with a lifeline. In exchange for her freedom, the debt would vanish forever. A contract was signed, making her a duchess. But this marriage was far from a fairy tale. It felt cold. The Duke didn't even know he had a wife. Talk about an awkward introduction. Wait, what? Back to the flashback. Standing in his chambers, Celine struggled to find her voice under his intense gaze. Even bedridden, he was breathtakingly handsome. Snap out of it, girl. This is no time for fangirling. He demanded to know who she was. Trembling, she claimed she was just a new maid sent by mother. But the Duke wasn't buying it. His suspicion flared as he cornered her for the truth. With her heart racing, Celine finally stuttered out the impossible truth. I am your wife. A total bombshell. He hadn't planned on marrying anyone, yet here she was, explaining the madness. Confusion clouded his eyes. After a heavy silence, he commanded her to step closer to him. He intended to fulfill his husbandly duties right then and there. Wow, he certainly moves fast. She had spent weeks preparing her body with strict diets and bitter tonics just to conceive an heir, but nothing prepared her for his touch. He pinned her down, mocking her supposed lessons in the bedroom. His words were sharp as glass, teasing her obvious lack of experience as she trembled beneath him. He's being quite cruel, isn't he? Yet, we love the tension. Suddenly, he pulled away with a sneer. He ordered her to leave his sight immediately. Panic set in. If she left now, the contract was void. She begged him to let her stay. She had nowhere else to turn. But instead of pity, the Duke reached for something terrifying. He pulled a knife. Sir, that is definitely illegal, even if you are ridiculously handsome. She pleaded for her life, crying out for her siblings. Thankfully, he didn't strike her down. Phew! Talk about a heart attack. He sliced his own arm, staining the sheets to fake their first night. He tossed his shirt aside, and once again, Celine was lost in his perfect physique. Can we blame her? Have you seen him? He is peak male lead material. Anyway, moving on. He ordered her to bandage his wound. That is when the bitter reality hit. There would be no child. She implored him to keep their secret. If Camila found out, Celine would be replaced in a heartbeat. He agreed, knowing his mother would just force another poor girl into his bed. Flashback over. The memory of that intense night still sends shivers down Celine's spine. Using her knowledge from a past life, she searched for a loophole. She needed to break this bond. If the deal fell through, Camila would demand a divorce between Celine and Ahmad immediately. Her mother-in-law was already complaining about wasting money on a bride who couldn't get pregnant. Seriously, lady? Give her a break. Celine stood her ground, citing every term of their agreement. Then, she made a bold move. She asked to take full charge of her husband's affairs. That is our girl. Take the reins. Despite Camila's obvious disdain, Celine didn't back down. She argued that his failing health was the real reason she wasn't carrying an heir yet. The mere hint of her son's weakness sent Camila into a total panic. She couldn't have that. Claiming her expertise as a pharmacy assistant, Celine promised results or she would face the consequences. Finally, Camila relented. Celine was now officially in charge of the Duke's recovery. She headed straight for his room, but a familiar shadow blocked her path once more. The head maid, Emma, was being a brat, but Celine wasn't the same girl anymore. Get her. She brushed past the help with authority. Entering the room, she found the Duke waiting in the shadows. He looked like a fallen angel by the window. Swallowing her nerves, she asked him for a walk. Unsurprisingly, Ahmad wasn't interested. He shut her down without a second thought. He mocked her request with icy words. This man has zero romance in his entire body. Is it the illness talking, or is he just naturally cold? Either way, Celine was ready. So, Celine urges him to witness the world outside. Perfect weather for lovers, right? He cold-heartedly declines, but our resilient heroine quickly composes herself. She asks him once more, but the Duke suddenly grabs her chin. Slap! She reacts instantly, but in her haste, she accidentally offers her other hand. Her wounded hand. Ouch. The Duke's sharp eyes catch it, and the guilt hits him like a truck as he realizes he caused this pain. Celine notices that flicker of remorse in his gaze. Being a clever girl, she decides to use this guilt to her absolute advantage. She plays up the injury, acting like it hurts terribly. To her utter shock, the cold Duke actually mutters a soft, "I am sorry." Unbelievable. He is a total softie under that icy exterior. It was all an act, folks. Finally, we can breathe a sigh of relief. Never wasting a golden opportunity, she strikes. She tells him the only way to make amends is by taking a stroll with her. They step into the garden, leaving the servants speechless. She tries some small talk, but he remains silent until they reach the moonlit garden. Suddenly, a cat lunges at her. Startled, Celine nearly crashes to the ground. But wait, you will never guess what happens next. Ahmad catches her in his arms. This is a total classic heart-fluttering moment. Honestly, Ahmad, go ahead and catch us too. Celine is completely stunned by their proximity. Flustered, she immediately pulls away from his embrace and offers a polite thank you. Thank goodness he caught her. If it were us, we would not have moved an inch. Suddenly, she spots the cat and realizes it is. Noor, is that you? Where are the ladybugs? Just kidding. She greets the cat like an old friend, leaving the Duke totally bewildered. Seeing her bond so easily with the creature, Ahmad stares at her with a strange, unreadable expression. His icy mask is starting to crack. He just stands there, mesmerized by her presence without saying a word. I think someone is catching feelings, guys. Get ready for romance. Just then, something flies into her eye. The Duke leans in incredibly close, his face just inches from hers as he gently helps her. He is finally showing his hidden romantic side by clearing the dust from her eye. Oh my god, that is just too cute. Celine is clearly affected. Her her face turning bright red like a ripe tomato. Suddenly, Ahmad coughs, making Celine worry for his health again. She suggests walking again tomorrow, but he snaps. He accuses her of only caring because of her contract with his mother. Fed up with his attitude, Celine finally loses her cool and snaps back at him. She shouts that she is doing this for his own good. Plus, she has zero interest in having children with someone as disrespectful as him. Someone get that man some ice for that burn. Celine drags Ahmad back inside to keep him warm, even while her own wound hurts. He notices her wince in pain. Unexpectedly, he grabs her hand and tenderly begins to rewrap her bandage himself. Celine is baffled by his constant mood swings. One minute he is fuming, the next he is gentle. Honestly, Ahmad, just pick a mood. You are actually worried about her now? Meanwhile, Rona returns to the villa looking absolutely thrilled by what she saw. She will not stop gushing about how close the couple looked, even suspecting they kissed. Celine knows her maid has completely misread the situation. The maid keeps rambling on about how romantic and happy they seem. To her, the lady and the Duke are a match made in heaven. Finally, they are actually getting along. Oh, Rona, you are officially the president of the Celine and Ahmad fan club now. Welcome aboard. Just as she is about to rest, Rona announces that Dr. Raymond wants a word. He arrives, claiming he needs to perform a health checkup. She notes how gentle the doctor seems compared to the harsh Camila. No wonder everyone in the estate trusts him implicitly. However, she suspects he might be secretly involved in Ahmad's untimely death. There is a creepy vibe here, but we cannot be certain yet. Our girl Celine is definitely playing it smart, already looking for a way to navigate this dangerous situation. She decides to stay calm and interview him after the exam to uncover the truth about the Duke's real condition. She boldly states she wants to manage her husband's prescriptions and diet herself. By the end, she successfully captures his full attention. After securing permission, she informs Rona that she will be the one deciding Ahmad's meals from this point forward. Celine and Rona head to the kitchen to meet the Duke's chef, Jang. He seems intimidating at first, but he is actually quite approachable. While reviewing the menu, Celine notices a complete lack of meat. Jang explains that this was actually Dr. Raymond's specific preference. Celine suggests a total overhaul of Ahmad's diet to help him rebuild. She promises to support Jang every step of the way. She even managed to work a miracle and get Camila's approval. Our girl is officially taking charge of this entire household. When she finally serves the first meal she and Jang prepared, it is clear the Duke is actually enjoying the food. He finishes the whole plate in record time. She praises him for eating well, then reaches out to ask for a small favor. She wants to go for another walk, but before he can even answer, Emma interrupts. Ugh, talk about a major mood killer. Emma's protest softens when the Duke asks what is wrong. She insists that he must take his medication before doing anything else. Celine eyes the pills suspiciously, knowing they have not been tested. Lost in thought, she is startled when the Duke asks what she is doing. She is momentarily dazed until he reminds her that they have a walk to catch. Well, at least someone is keeping their promise. It's more intense than usual. Enchanted once again by his presence, aren't we all? She takes his hand. A garden stroll leads to a feline encounter. A stray cat has been hiding within the villa's shadows. Celine pleads with the Duke to keep the kitten, vowing to find the little guy a forever home. The Duke labels her irresponsible, but she stands firm. Suddenly, the cat approaches Ahmad and Celine panics. She rushes to protect the Duke's fragile health. Ahmad's horrified expression stops her cold. A venomous snake lurks. It's on her shoulder! Terrified, Ahmad commands Celine to stay frozen while he deals with the viper. Reality hits her. She nearly died. She frantically checks on Ahmad, terrified he might fall ill from stress. Heartbroken for him, she's stunned when he starts teasing. A bite to the hand? Luckily, he's unharmed. The Duke chuckles at her genuine concern. Not the best time for jokes, Ahmad, but he has taste. Despite her anger, she's captivated. Who could resist that rare, breathtaking smile of his? Simply unfair, right? Oh, Celine, you're totally whipped. We're losing too. The Duke notices his torn clothes, leaving Celine flushed. Ever the gentleman, the Duke sheds his shirt to wrap it around her trembling shoulders. How romantic. He's standing there shirtless, leaving us torn between worrying for his health or admiring those legendary abs. Purely innocent thoughts, of course. Later, Camila delivers a harsh scolding for the chaotic garden incident. Celine realizes she's been under constant surveillance. During a tense confrontation with her mother-in-law, the truth emerges. She identifies the real puppet master influencing the dowager. The shadow following her every move is the head. Greta, the head maid, arrives. While delivering supposed fertility medicine, her eyes burn with hidden, icy resolve. Greta confronts her about the recent changes. What's this? She's actually challenging the Duchess's new authority. Celine calmly handles the old woman. She explains her actions with the grace of a true noble lady. The Duchess makes it clear, every single change was already discussed and approved by her mother-in-law first. Greta's habit of flaunting Camilla's borrowed power is well known. Those days of arrogance are finally over now. Celine refuses to be a victim any longer. That's right. Never let these villains stomp on your pride. After they leave, Rona vents about the staff's blatant disrespect. We feel you, Rona. They just don't understand. Rona vows to help Celine become the undisputed mistress of the house. What a loyal, precious soul she is. Her loyalty was forged the day Celine rescued her from the cruel misery of the slave market. Asking Camilla for money was her first and final request. A small price for such a devoted ally. Eager to help, Rona fetches Raymond's medicine. Celine immediately heads out to investigate the mysterious tonic. Celine returns to her former workplace, asking the pharmacist to analyze the ingredients and the secret prescription. Safety first. The owner tests the pills himself, causing Celine's heart to race with pure, frantic anxiety. He confirms the medicine matches the prescription. However, its true purpose is far darker than she ever imagined. Designed only to numb a patient's agonizing pain? That sounds incredibly suspicious. What do you all think? Returning home, she's grilled by her mother-in-law. Celine claims she sought an emergency supply of fertility pills. Camilla's reaction is pure poison. She feels threatened by the idea of Celine securing her position. Celine insists she's trying for an heir despite the bitter medicine. Her next move is a total masterpiece. Camilla literally spits out her tea in shock. Seizing the moment of distraction, Celine strikes with a question. Why were you following me? Celine's calm voice masks a sharp edge as she confronts the stalking incident. With a breathtakingly radiant smile, Celine drops a line that cuts deep. Truly a pitiful display of behavior. Calling out the dowager's pathetic tactics is the only way. She deserves it. Always keep that winning smile. Celine isn't finished. She sarcastically mocks Greta's tea, noting how the maid and mistress are exactly alike. She sees right through them. Greta is desperately trying to force the Duchess into a total surrender. Hints are dropped that many dislike her role, but our girl is playing the Duchess part perfectly fine. Feeling lonely, Ahmad stares out the window while Celine continues to watch him with an intense, lingering gaze. He notices and glares, but Celine remains undaunted. She has eyes, so she has every right to look. Come on, Ahmad. With a face that handsome, you can't blame us for staring. Just check the mirror. The Empire's youngest, most elite knight. That title alone has every girl, including us, swooning in his wake. Had he not fallen ill, this man would have wed a peerless beauty, not a girl burdened by debt. Ahmad, are you truly settling for me? We really are an odd pair. Selena playfully teased his stoic manner, even mimicking his voice until she grew used to his cold charm. She urged him to stop avoiding her. After that terrifying snake encounter, their distance felt unbearable. They walked together, even as Ahmad tried to push her away. She prodded for stories of his time as the legendary Sun Knight. He spoke briefly of the royal palace, though he felt like a forgotten ghost in his own home. Ahmad, who could ever forget a face as handsome as yours? Selena chirped, trying to lift his heavy spirits. You will recover soon, she promised, but Ahmad grew suspicious. Why was she so kind? Did she merely want his heir? Who wouldn't want a child with you? She thought, though her only goal was to heal his broken heart. She fled before the rumors could spread. Ahmad watched her, stunned by how expressive his little wife had become. He once thought she was a mere actress, but now he saw a woman constantly flustered by his presence. Even during his darkest seizures, he could feel her watching from a distance neither too close nor too far. Days later, Raymond delivered chilling news. Camila planned to lock Selena away in a mental asylum to get rid of her. If anyone belongs in an asylum, it is you, Camila. Selena realized she had to tread carefully from now on. Her strange behavior 2 times a week was drawing too much attention. Camila was watching her like a hawk. Suddenly, a strange servant summoned her to the Sparrow Room. There, the Empire's most cunning countesses awaited. Amidst the elegant tea, venomous gossip flowed. They mentioned a lady named Veronica, who was engaged young. Selena froze. The Veronica they spoke of was no ordinary noblewoman. She was the novel's true protagonist. Is the original plot finally beginning to hunt me down? Exhausted by the plot twists, Selena tried to sleep by counting sheep, hoping for a moment of peace. But something cold and slimy crawled beneath her sheets. A snake! Panic surged, but she remembered Ahmad's training. Stay still. They captured the viper, and Selena rushed to town before dawn to investigate the truth. Her friend identified the exotic snake. It was meant to cause unbearable itching, a deliberate, malicious attack. Its venom was valuable, often used in painkillers or to aid in difficult labors. Or, perhaps, as a secret ingredient for contraceptives? What was the true motive behind this assassination attempt? Returning home, Selena sensed an intruder. She signaled her maid to play along and hurried toward Ahmad's chamber. In the darkness, a powerful hand seized her, pinning her firmly against the cold wall. It was him. A knight always knows when someone is lurking. Selena had no choice but to confess everything. She looked into his eyes and whispered that she needed his protection. When the servants came looking for the Duchess, Ahmad pulled her close, his arm wrapping possessively around her waist. "Why does he make my heart flutter like this?" The maid, Greta, was clearly sent to spy on her. Ahmad stared the servant down, declaring that no one should disrespect his wife. Now that is a real husband. Once they were alone, Ahmad questioned her. Why did she have so many enemies lurking in the shadows? His bluntness stung her heart. He was not wrong. That night, Selena realized the stakes were higher than ever. Ahmad warned her that the powerful never give up. Fine, then she would become just as ruthless as them. The next morning, Selena confronted Camila, only to be met with sharp, mocking questions about her romantic night. "Ahmad is recovering, but do not overwork him," Camila sneered. Honestly, does this woman ever stop being toxic? Selena learned that Camila had ordered Greta to clear the snakes, feigning concern for the palace's safety. It was a trap. Camila wanted to frame Greta to cover her own tracks. The mother-in-law was ready to sacrifice her own pawn just to punish Selena. Selena struck first, reporting Greta's negligence to Camila and demanding she be stripped of her position. Before the argument could escalate, Greta entered with sweets, trying to manipulate the situation. Selena played her final card. Imagine if those snakes had entered the Duke's room instead. Selena's sharp wit left them speechless. Greta fell to her knees in terror. Just as Camila tried to intervene, Ahmad stepped into the room. The Duke stood by his wife, his cold gaze intensifying the pressure on the traitorous servant. He was officially obsessed. Greta's suspicion flares, but Ahmad steps in like a true knight to shield Celine's whereabouts. Greta keeps insisting that Celine snuck out under the cover of darkness. Ahmad claims they were together, declaring his wife's honor is an extension of his own. Such a dominant move. He leaves, yet a strange, heavy tension lingers behind. Celine follows him, but Camila intercepts her with a new order: replace Greta's position. In Ahmad's room, she finds him burning with fever. He suddenly seizes her arm. He pulls her hand to his chest, whispering that she's far too noisy. At this rate, a tiny heir might arrive sooner than anyone anticipated. Raymond confirms it's minor. Celine sighs in relief and calls for fresh water. Emma rudely interrupts, claiming the task as her own exclusive, devoted duty. Emma's over-devotion is glaringly suspicious, forcing Celine to firmly take command. She administers the medicine, determined to keep the Duke's heart beating. Inspecting the ledgers with Colton, they stumble upon a massive, hidden financial anomaly. These specific credit records shouldn't be this easy to manipulate or erase. This reeks of embezzlement. Greta was hiding dark secrets from the very beginning. Later, Celine struggles with a foreign book Jean lent her. The language is a barrier. She visits Ahmad, using the book as an excuse to spend time together. He begins translating, but the content is scandalous. Recipes for a romantic night. It's a guide for hot nights and turning your husband into a beast. Flustered, she tries to snatch it, but the tall Duke teases her relentlessly. They tumble to the floor together. "Ahmad, you smooth, calculated devil." He questions her sincerity, wondering why she fought so hard to save him. As she dodges the question, he pins her wrist, demanding her true intentions. Panicking, she blurts out a desperate lie. "It's because I love you." In reality, she just needs him alive to secure her own safe escape. It's survival. Not romance, but the Duke's gaze says he isn't quite convinced. She claims her heart fluttered when he caught that snake for her sake. Ahmad's eyes flicker with a sudden, intense, and unreadable emotion. He coldly dismisses her. He knows a lie when he hears one. Rona brings medicine, a special tonic designed specifically to trigger a pregnancy. The Neptune room awaits. The trap for tonight is finally set. Camila's schemes are ruthless. How will Celine survive this forced encounter? A lucky day for conception was chosen by both stars and doctors. The astrologer Radis arrives to ensure the bloodline continues as planned. The prophecy is shocking. Celine is destined to bear twins. Camila is thrilled, but Celine vows to never let that future happen. Rona excitedly shoves Celine toward Ahmad's private, candlelit chambers. Nervous, she tries to flee, but Ahmad commands her to sit bedside. Her sudden confession has piqued his interest in a very dangerous way. Before she can react, he pulls her down, pinning her to the mattress. He's like a predator now. Celine panics, begging him to stop. He's just playing his part, the husband claiming his rightful nightly due. He challenges her. If her love is real, she must prove it tonight. He leans in, his breath hot, whispering about their future children. She must show her desperation, or he'll know her love was a total sham. She was literally being ghosted. It had been days since she'd seen him, only hearing whispers from the servants that the Duke wouldn't leave his room or even touch his meals. Wait, what's happening? Lorna noticed Celine looking frail, doing nothing but embroidery all week, so she asked about an old bag. It held her only belongings from when she first arrived. Rona suggested that Celine should finally change her outfit to something more fitting. After all, clothes reflect one's dignity, even if she felt like a mere tool. She thought her only purpose was to provide an heir. Regardless, Celine took the suggestion to heart. She was so excited that she contacted Camilla's boutique. Rona is just too cute. She's basically one of us. Inside, Paula, the lead designer, guided her through the fitting. These were gowns she would definitely find satisfying. After picking a few pieces, Paula invited her to return to the boutique once the Duke felt much better. Since it's so trendy these days for wives to visit the shop alongside their husbands, Celine felt a pang of sadness. He clearly didn't care for her. Despite that, she remained deeply worried about his health. If this continued, her project to save him would surely fail. Don't give up, Celine. Stepping into his room, the atmosphere was freezing. Ahmad lay buried under a mountain of heavy blankets. Usually, someone as sharp as him would notice her immediately. But as she pulled back the covers, his body heat was terrifyingly abnormal. Panicked, she ordered Emma to summon the doctor immediately. Ahmad drifted in and out of consciousness, hearing her desperate pleas for him to stay alive. The next morning, Celine woke up after guarding him all night. But Ahmad greeted her with cold eyes, asking if she simply wanted praise for being a devoted duchess caring for her husband. Seriously, what is his problem? Feeling insulted, Celine told him to back off. Her tone turned icy as she told him they'd talk later. In her room, she recalled how Ahmad always secluded himself when ill. She should have realized it sooner. She then opened her old bag and discovered the contract was still inside. If anyone saw it, she was doomed. Perhaps someone already had. Oh no! Meanwhile, Paula sent over a doll as a small souvenir gift. But her mind was on Ahmad. She decided to make peace. In the garden, Ahmad noticed her brand new dress and offered a rare compliment while touching her hair. She was stunned, but refused to let it rattle her. Then, Ahmad suddenly asked why she was carrying a doll around like a little child. She explained it was a gift, but Ahmad just smirked. He told her it looked much better now. At first, she thought he was complimenting her again, but he clarified the doll looked prettier than her. How rude, Celine coughed. To hide her embarrassment, to change the subject, she ignored his jabs and simply asked him to trust her. She truly wanted him healthy. Once he recovered, she promised to disappear from his life forever. Wait, Celine? You really want to leave our handsome Duke husband behind just like that? There's a long line of people waiting for that spot. If you leave, I guess that means more chances for us. Ahmad is the commander of the Empire's strongest knights. Once he finally regains his health, she'd likely be kicked out anyway. But in return, she could finally save her family from their debts. But Ahmad saw through her, or so he thought. He asked if she expected him to fall for her act for alimony. Celine clenched her fists, finally snapping. She told him he had no idea how hard her life had been. Exactly. Don't judge her so harshly. This guy is still a bit insensitive. Then, a sudden realization hit her. Ahmad was bedridden right when she hadn't visited for days. Who would benefit the most if he died? Ahmad's father had 5 brothers. If the Duke passed away, the massive fortune would automatically transfer to his uncles or their children. If that's the case, he needs to consider the possibility of foul play. But Ahmad remained calm. He claimed he was dying anyway, so talking about it wouldn't change his fate. It seemed he had already accepted his grim end. Back in her room, Celine's mind was racing. Rona noticed her distress and suggested sharing some wine with the master to break the icy tension. Rona, we see what you're doing. Great thinking, high five for being the ultimate wingman. Ahmad was allowed to drink in moderation, so she entered his room with an invitation. He hesitated, but the wine smelled divine. Who could resist a fine vintage? Celine poured the glass, but she boldly refused the wine, telling him to just sit back and watch her drink. Ahmad watched with amusement, curious if she'd become more submissive after a single glass. She's a light drinker, he noted. Soon after, she retreated to her room to rest. However, he later questioned why she was the first to arrive. Drunk and defenseless, the truth began to pour out of her. She confessed she was there because of a tempting snack hidden in his room. Then, she pointed directly at his handsome face, declaring no five-star restaurant in the world was as delicious as him. Ahmad's face turned crimson. Alcohol really makes you bold, doesn't it, Celine? She secretly wondered if Ahmad was a total lightweight, despite being the legendary captain of the Knights. Suddenly, he downed the entire bottle in a fit of embarrassment. Was he flustered? Celine playfully offered to pour him another round, but her vision was already spinning. She accidentally spilled the wine in a very sensitive location. Ahmad ordered her back to her room a second time, but first, she had to clean up the mess she'd made. Celine was brutally honest, calling him narrow-minded and ill-tempered, but Ahmad wasn't truly that cold-hearted. Beneath that sharp exterior, he was surprisingly caring. That's when Celine suggested a high-stakes bet. 1 bottle left. The first to pass out must grant the winner's deepest wish. A dangerous game. Ahmad asked what she truly desired. He assumed it was just gold she wanted. Of course, she needed money, but her heart held a different story. It was heartbreaking, really. Before this life, she had fought tooth and nail just to survive. She juggled countless jobs, enduring exhaustion and pain just to ensure her siblings never had to suffer. Poor Celine. Everyone who carries the weight of their family on their shoulders can feel her pain. Overcome with guilt, Ahmad apologized, promising to be more attentive to her family's needs from now on. Celine dared him to drink if he was truly sorry, but if he won, she'd leave forever. Ahmad couldn't look away. She looked breathtakingly beautiful. The contract was set, but she clumsily spilled more wine on him. "I'll let you decide my fate," she whispered. Was she serious? Was it really an accident? Panicking and losing her senses, she desperately started wiping the alcohol off. His trousers. Ahmad barked at her to stop immediately. Now, she was convinced he utterly loathed her. He couldn't stand her touch, yet Celine, you're only making things harder for him. Literally, she tried to flee, but Ahmad suddenly pulled her back. He grabbed her waist. For 2 long years, he hadn't laid a single finger on her. To prove he had no physical weaknesses, he leaned in and finally claimed her lips with a passionate kiss. Finally, the moment we've all been waiting for. Celine was frozen in shock as Ahmad's lips met hers. Never underestimate the power of a little wine. It has a way of revealing one's deepest, hidden cravings. But we don't need alcohol to admit how much we crave you, Ahmad. She couldn't believe what was happening. Was this a dream? Did she really just kiss Ahmad? The wine took control again, and she pinched his cheek just to check if he was real. Thinking it was all just a drunken hallucination, she boldly initiated another kiss. Ahmad lost all restraint, hungering for more. He carried Celine to his master bedroom, laying her gently on the bed before hovering over her. Ahmad began to undress himself. Before losing himself in her, he pressed his lips to her skin, whispering that he wanted her just as much. And so, Ahmad and Celine shared a night of absolute, burning passion. Celine is one lucky girl. As the first rays of dawn broke, she woke up to find a magnificent man sleeping soundly beside her. Even in slumber, he looked absolutely divine. You know exactly what I mean. Memories of the previous night flooded back, and Celine was horrified. Their little drinking session had spiraled completely out of control. Panicked, she dressed quickly and fled to her own room, where Rona was waiting with a mirror to show her the love marks. They were visible all over her neck. Oh my, someone certainly had quite the feast last night. Desperate to hide the evidence, Celine begged Rona for makeup. Speaking of which, Rona mentioned Lady Lou's makeup was the talk of the town. Hearing the name Lady Louise sparked a strange curiosity in Celine. It felt so familiar. Could it really be her? After tea with Camilla, Celine took a quiet stroll through the grand gardens of the estate. Her mind was a whirlwind, completely consumed by the heated encounter with Ahmad. Suddenly, she bumped into Ahmad himself. He wanted to talk, but she lost her nerve and tried to trick him. "Look, a snake," she cried, pointing away. "Why are you running, little girl? You have to face him eventually." Gasping for breath, Celine collapsed in her room, trying to calm her racing heart. That's when Rona gave her the bad news. Her precious earring was still missing. A priceless gift with deep sentimental value to Celine. Where could it be? Her father's keepsake was missing. She suspected it was in Ahmad's room, but refused to intrude. Celine clutched her wedding band instead, praying this ring would serve as her new talisman. Meanwhile, Ahmad was spiraling. Why did Celine flee from him? He racked his brain for answers. A devastating thought struck him. Was he bad in bed? Is our mighty Duke actually insecure about his stamina? Our worried Duke collapsed onto the bed, only to find Celine's missing earring tucked beneath the pillows. Proof! Their night was truly wild. It seems the intensity sent her jewelry flying everywhere. Days passed, and Celine played a dangerous game of hide-and-seek, burying herself in work to avoid him. She focused on Greta's embezzlement, convinced the woman was the serpent behind the literal snake attack. Hunting for evidence, she could practically smell the villainy radiating off Greta. That woman is pure trouble. With Rona's help, Selene swiped the key to Greta's lair and slipped inside to investigate. She ransacked the room for a smoking gun, but found nothing. Don't worry, the truth always comes out. Wandering the garden, doubt began to fester. Was Greta really the mastermind, or was someone else responsible? Who is the real shadow lurking in this mansion? The mystery only deepens. Her thoughts were shattered when she ran into Ahmad. He blocked her path, his eyes demanding a confrontation. "Are we playing games now?" he asked, clearly irritated by her constant attempts to ghost him. He seized her hand, his voice breaking as he begged her to stop running. "Our Duke is bearing his soul." In a rare moment of vulnerability, they sat together. The atmosphere grew thick as he reached out. His hand covered hers, a silent plea for connection. Talk about heart-fluttering tension. Ahmad mentioned their fateful night, but Selene quickly dismissed it as a mere drunken accident. He tried to pour his heart out, but she cut him off before the words could leave his lips. "It was just a messy mistake," she lied. "Let's pretend it never happened and move on." Ouch. How could you just assume his feelings like that, Selene? You're crushing his heart. Refusing to hear his side, she tried to pull away, but Ahmad stood his ground, his grip tightening. "Fine," he spat, his voice cold as ice. "If forgetting is what you want, consider it done." With eyes full of betrayal, he pressed the lost earring into her palm. "Our poor Duke is suffering." He turned his back and walked away, leaving Selene alone. "Why are you breaking him like this? Do you even have a heart, Selene? If you don't want him, we'll gladly take him." Reality finally set in. Selene realized she'd crossed a line and decided to face the music. She tentatively entered his study, finding the Duke buried in his books, his aura freezing cold. She tried to spark a conversation, but he ignored her completely. "Welcome to the cold shoulder zone." Ahmad didn't even look up, offering nothing but icy. One-word replies. The tables have truly turned. Frustrated by his freezing energy, she demanded he speak to her properly. But the Duke wasn't having it. He slammed his book shut, declaring he needed rest. He's officially done with her games. As he swept out, Selene stood frozen. He was mirroring her own behavior, the ultimate revenge. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was finally getting a taste of her own medicine. "Now you know the agony of being ghosted. Selene, how does it feel to be ignored?" To escape the tension, she joined the servants in a frantic search for their missing cat, Newer. Amidst the chaos, Ahmad appeared like a shadow. Selene cornered him in a secluded nook to talk. They spoke of the cat's safety, but the air between them was heavy with unspoken words. He assured her the perimeter was secure from any threats. He's still protecting her, even now. Selene explained how the poor kitty was terrified of mice. She'd even found it stuck in a chimney. A faint smirk touched Ahmad's lips. A cat afraid of mice? The irony was almost poetic. "We don't love them for their skills," she argued. "We love them for the joy they bring us." She compared the cat to a wife important for more than just heirs. Talk about a bold metaphor. Overwhelmed by her own emotions, Selene hurried away to continue her search. The chase continues. Just as she turned, Ahmad suddenly collapsed, his body trembling. Terror seized Selene's heart as she rushed to his side. Kneeling in despair, she held Ahmad tightly in her arms. Through her tears, she begged him to wake up. She prayed he wouldn't perish. Moments later, Ahmad opened his eyes and saw Selene's tearful face. A smirk played on his lips as he teased her for actually crying over him. It was just a cruel prank, but Selene realized she was falling for him. What a heart-fluttering moment. Selene was furious at his dramatics, shouting that his life was never something to joke about. Seeing her genuine distress, Ahmad felt a sharp pang of guilt. He realized how much she cared. He took her hand, swearing a solemn vow never to die before her eyes. "Just stay alive!" Selene was stunned by his sudden sincerity. Cherishing the moment, she continued her search for something new. Back at the manor, Rona delivered the news. Ahmad had finally tracked down the missing Noir. Selene found Ahmad covered in cat scratches, yet he merely brushed off the pain from his search. He explained that he'd searched every chimney in the estate, remembering she once found Noir there. The Grand Duke actually went into the chimneys? Ahmad's devotion truly knows no bounds. As Selene expressed her deep gratitude, a maid suddenly arrived with their precious companion. After a long bath, Noir's true form was revealed. The cat's fur was actually a brilliant snowy white. It turns out the black cat was simply covered in layers of chimney, soot, and dirt. Selene hugged Noir tightly, whispering how much she missed her and asking why she'd hidden away. Ahmad watched them, revealing there was a specific reason why Noir had stayed in that chimney. Noir leaped down to her kittens. Celine wondered what's next, deciding to care for the whole feline family. Ahmad insisted she keep them all. He believed that even if Noir couldn't hunt, she had other charms. He meant she was a source of pure joy. He truly remembered every little detail she shared. He's the perfect man. Later, lying in bed, Celine pondered how to properly repay his kindness. She wanted to return the favor, but struggled to find a gift for a man who has everything. Celine stared into the air, her mind racing with ideas for her beloved Duke. Rona suggested embroidering a handkerchief, knowing Celine's skill with a needle was unmatched. Celine hesitated, thinking such gifts were only for special lovers. But isn't Ahmad her special someone? A brilliant idea struck her. Early the next morning, she and Rona headed straight for the market. She planned to cook a special feast for Ahmad, personally selecting a legendary fish for his health. They reached the bustling market just in time for the high-stakes auction of the fabled Salem fish. This rare creature was rumored to cure any illness. Celine placed the highest bid and won. As they headed back to the carriage, Celine accidentally collided with a mysterious, elegant woman. The stranger looked like high royalty. As they parted, Celine noticed the lady had dropped something precious. Celine quickly returned the item, receiving a graceful thank you before they went their separate ways. Who was that mysterious lady? Back home, Celine began the intense preparations for the legendary fish. She had practiced with the chef all night, her hands now bearing small cuts from her hard work. This meal meant everything to her. Her dedication to our dear Ahmad is truly beautiful. Just as she started, Noir lunged out, snatched the fish in her mouth, and bolted away. That's a legendary fish, Noir. Celine chased after the feline thief with everything she had. Running outside the mansion, Celine stopped to catch her breath, only for Ahmad to appear. He stood there with Noir in his arms, asking if she was chasing this little troublemaker. Suddenly, Noir dropped the fish into the dirt. All of Celine's hard work was ruined in an instant. Despite the disaster, the dining room was soon filled with a wonderful, inviting aroma. Celine had transformed the remaining ingredients into a brand new, exquisite feast for the Duke. She offered the meal as a token of thanks. Ahmad, impressed, invited her to share tea with him. As Ahmad sipped his tea, Celine couldn't help but admire his heart-fluttering elegance and grace. Just look at those hands! A touch from him would be divine. Kidding. Please don't unsub yet. She notices Ahmad isn't wearing their wedding ring. Naturally, she has to speak up and question him. It feels so unfair that she's the only one marking her territory with a ring. After some back and forth, Ahmad sees her pout and caves. He'll wear it anything to keep his wife happy. Is that for you, Ahmad? Seeing the silver on his finger, Celine beams. It suits you perfectly. Then, Celine brings up their drinking bet. Since she's the winner, she finally gets to claim her prize. Ahmad asks for her wish. With a radiant smile, she makes her move. I want a date with you. In the heart of the bustling town, Ahmad and Celine begin their first romantic stroll together. Their first stop? A heavenly dessert cafe. Faced with so many sweets, Celine is completely paralyzed by choice. Sensing her struggle, Ahmad makes a power move. Give us everything. Perks of being a wealthy duke. As they settle in, they become the main event. Every eye in the room is glued to the couple. The stares make Celine uneasy, but Ahmad's gaze never wavers. Ignore them. Focus only on me. That's right, Celine. Today, the world only contains the two of you. And then, the feast arrives. She dives into the cakes with joy while Ahmad just watches her. His intense gaze is almost a meal. Caught off guard, she assumes he's just playing his part. It's just for the bet, she tells herself. But Ahmad shatters her thoughts. This date, it's like being reborn. He's never felt this much life before. Celine's heart skips a beat. Could he really mean that? She can hardly believe her ears. He leans in, reassuring her that every word is the absolute truth. Smooth, Duke. Very smooth. Next, he leads her forward. Walking through the streets, Celine's mind starts to wander toward the past. The ghost of Veronica haunts her thoughts. She can't stop thinking about his former fiancé. Veronica was the original heroine, once engaged to Ahmad. But something about this story feels off. In the novel, they were inseparable. Yet now, everything is changing. The plot is drifting off script. Is this the butterfly effect? Let's hope for a happy ending. But Ahmad notices her distant expression. He asks what's bothering her. Seizing the moment, Celine finally asks about his past with Veronica. She mentions how everyone praises Veronica's peerless beauty and talent. Is she fishing for a reaction? This sounds like a jealous wife testing the waters, huh, Celine? Ahmad's response is immediate and cold. I don't remember a single thing about her. He explains that the engagement ended the moment he fell ill. A safe, logical answer. Or is it? But Celine drops a bombshell. Veronica might be back. Is a love triangle looming on the horizon? Curious about her sudden interest in his ex, Ahmad turns the tables. Why does she matter? Celine realizes they would have married if not for his curse. Still, she vows to keep her promise. As he recovers, Ahmad's eyes sharpen. He spots her earrings, the ones he found in her room. He demands to know who gave them to her. Celine teases, "A special man." Instantly, his mood turns icy. Is that jealousy, Ahmad? She giggles at his dark expression before revealing it was just her father. They were his final gift. Celine confesses how much she treasures them as a memory of his love. He passed away shortly after. Touched by her vulnerability, Ahmad reaches out to comfort his wife. To make the day truly unforgettable, the Duke decides it's time for a proper gift of his own. Celine asks for a simple hairpin. So, Ahmad whisks her away to the capital's most exclusive boutique. The jeweler recognizes the Duke instantly. But when he turns his attention toward the lady, he calls her his lover, but Ahmad corrects him with pride. She is my wife. He's definitely showing off. Ahmad scans the jewels and points to a piece that suits her, a delicate silver crescent moon. He gently tucks the pin into her hair himself. It's a perfect match for her beauty. Well played, Ahmad. Your taste is lethal. Back home, Rona is absolutely swooning. This pin is a confession of love, but Celine still feels uncertain. Despite the romance, she can't forget their relationship is just a contract. Is it all just an act? And nothing more. Just then, a servant arrived. Celine was summoned to a tea party hosted by Camilla in the palace gardens. Though wary of Camilla's sudden invitation, she dutifully prepared for the gathering. Upon entering the garden, various noble ladies from prestigious houses were already waiting alongside Camilla. Countess Leong immediately noticed Celine's new hairpins, declaring them the hottest topic in high society. Word had spread like wildfire that the Duke personally visited the jeweler to buy these gifts for her. That was the real reason for the invitation. Everyone was dying to meet the woman who captured the Duke's heart. How nosy, Celine thought, stunned by the speed at which news of their date had traveled. She wondered if gossip was truly the only reason Camilla had called her to this social minefield. As the ladies whispered of their romance, Celine drifted into her own thoughts, reflecting on the reality of her bond. Madame Mortz gestured to an empty seat, but Camilla revealed she was holding it for a very special guest. At that precise moment, Veronica appeared. Celine's heart sank as she recognized her as the woman she had accidentally bumped into at the market. Camilla warmly welcomed the newcomer, introducing the elegant Veronica to the gathered nobility. She was seated right next to Celine, who was still reeling from this unexpected encounter. What drama awaited now that Celine's rival had finally entered the fray? Camilla beamed with joy while talking to Veronica, their close bond evident as they discussed intimate family matters. Their families were clearly intertwined, leaving Celine feeling like an awkward outsider at the table. Veronica introduced herself with chilling grace, treating her meeting with Ahmad's wife as a mere formality. Claiming a childhood bond, she boldly referred to the Duke by his first name to assert her dominance. Celine noted how Camilla hadn't even bothered with a proper introduction, showing clear favoritism toward Lady Langa. She treated Veronica more like a daughter than her own daughter-in-law, while the ladies pried into Veronica's life. One guest assumed she had returned early from abroad due to the looming threat of war. Relations between the Lilo Kingdom and the Empire were reaching a breaking point. After previous conflicts, a fragile ceasefire had been signed, but the diplomatic tension remained thick in the air. Recent legal disputes suggested Lilo no longer feared the Empire. Worse, the position of Knight Commander sat vacant. This instability was worrying, yet Camilla was already making moves behind the scenes to seize control. She planned to dismiss the loyal knights of Duke Ifrit, convinced her scheme would secure her power. Sensing danger, Celine suddenly excused herself. She had to act quickly before everything crumbled. She rushed off to find Ahmad, who had been battling a mysterious illness for 5 long years. If he were stripped of his position now, he would lose his place among the Sun Knights forever. Celine realized he was still oblivious to the true nature of his condition, foolishly believing he was recovering. But was he truly well? After a desperate search, she found him at the training grounds. This was where he had honed his skills since childhood, a place filled with his legacy. The grounds had been silent during his illness, but today, he was pushing his body to the limit. He looked on the verge of collapse. Watching him struggle, Celine felt a wave of dizziness wash over her. Later, Chef Jean presented a new menu, featuring a special sauce he had painstakingly developed for her. He expressed deep concern, noting that the master and lady had barely touched their food for days. A whole week had passed since Celine last spoke with Ahmad. She wanted to comfort him, but his distant behavior left her feeling lost in a fog of uncertainty. The salmon dish looked exquisite, prepared with the finest fresh ingredients. However, the mere scent made her stomach churn. The staff panicked as she nearly doubled over in pain. Jean stammered an apology, fearing his cooking had offended her delicate palate. Celine reassured him, admitting she had been feeling unusually sensitive to the foods she once loved. Every bite had become a struggle. Something was fundamentally changing within her body. Jean's eyes widened with a shocking realization. He suggested that her symptoms mirrored those of an early pregnancy. Morning sickness, the classic sign. Memories of their heated, passionate nights began to resurface vividly now. Could she really conceive after just that one night? A single encounter seems almost like a miracle. Her maid gushed with joy, reaching for a doctor instantly, but Celine caught her arm, stopping her. This secret had to stay hidden until certain. She refused to disturb the current, fragile peace. How would Ahmed react to a child? Doubt swirled, yet a fierce protective instinct took hold. She would guard this life. As the maid fussed, Celine finally decided today she would inform Camila. A doctor first? No, news travels fast. Celine knew telling Camila personally was the only choice. She would tell Camila first. That evening, Celine approached the door and heard Camila's voice inside. Raymond was there too. Their private conversation revealed a harsh truth. Ahmad was stripped of his command. He knew the dismissal was coming. Camila trembled, fearing how her son might handle this sudden blow. His eerie calm during the firing was unsettling. What would happen when the real storm finally hit? Had the family curse finally claimed him? Raymond whispered, reassurances that they still had some time. But history was cruel. This sickness always ended in agonizing fever, seizures, and eventually, certain death. It was an incurable fate. He was too young. Camila desperately needed a royal successor immediately. Her son's child was her final hope. Overhearing this, Celine slipped away, her heart racing fast. The news of her potential pregnancy remained unspoken. She could not reveal her secret just yet. It all made sense now. Ahmad's recent gloom was because he already knew about his terminal illness. Bitterness stung. Was she so insignificant that no one told her the Duke was actually dying? Without an heir, Camila had ignored her. Celine ignored the coldness and sprinted toward Ahmad's room. She threw her arms around him tightly. Her own uncertain future mattered nothing compared to his life. I won't let you die, she thought. Ahmad, meanwhile, remained completely oblivious to the tragedy she heard. He promised to stay by her side forever. So sweet! Suddenly, Celine realized she was still clinging. The embrace had lasted far too long. Flushed with shame, she realized she had been sobbing. Just then, the maid entered with medicine, catching the couple in their surprisingly intimate, warm embrace. Their private moment was shattered. Celine's face turned beet red as she scrambled to leave immediately. Walking away, she realized she had not managed to utter a single word of her news. The weight of Camila and Raymond's secret conversation pressed down on her soul with every step. Would a child give him hope? Suddenly, something glinted on the floor, a discarded, dried snakeskin. A chill ran down her spine. Was there still a venomous intruder lurking within the mansion walls? Noor the cat appeared, dragging an even larger, more terrifying skin. Celine recoiled in pure horror. Where was it coming from? Servants swarmed the corridors, eventually raiding a suspicious maid's private quarters. There, hidden away, they uncovered a locked chest filled with Ahmad's personal, stolen belongings. The same snake found in Celine's bath. This was no accident. Camila arrived, her eyes blazing cold. She cornered the trembling maid. Why are the Duke's personal items hidden in your room? She demanded. The maid claimed Ahmad had gifted them. Camila's fury exploded at the sheer audacity of the lie. She shot her son a look of pure disgust. Beat her and throw her out, Camila hissed. The girl was banished instantly. Camila ordered every single item the maid touched to be burned. Death by hanging was narrowly avoided. The maid's desperate screams for mercy echoed through the halls. At the mention of execution, Celine's stomach churned violently. Her sudden reaction caught everyone's attention. Camila's sharp eyes narrowed. With no choice left, Celine began describing her strange, sudden physical symptoms. Headaches and constant nausea. The signs were undeniable. A glimmer of recognition sparked in Camila's eyes. I am not certain yet, Celine whispered. Camila didn't care. She demanded Raymond be summoned back. Raymond had just departed, but the doors swung open as Ahmad entered, cutting their conversation short. Before Celine could speak, Camila blurted it out. You are finally going to have an heir. Ahmad's face darkened with visible distaste. But Camila didn't care. The prophecy of Radis was finally real. Beyond that, she experienced a vivid dream. One she felt was a mysterious omen of things to come. Soon, Dr. Raymond arrived to examine Celine. Yet the diagnostic results remained frustratingly shrouded in mystery for now. Unable to provide a definitive answer yet, he carefully inquired about Celine's most recent intimate night with the Duke. With Camilla and Ahmad watching closely, Celine's heart raced as an overwhelming wave of awkwardness washed over her. Trapped in a private dilemma, she hesitated, though Raymond needed the exact date to confirm the suspected pregnancy. Silence stretched as she struggled to respond. Honestly, who wouldn't be dying of embarrassment in her shoes? Even if a new life had begun, it was too early to confirm. Raymond noted Celine was currently suffering from severe gastritis. He requested one more week of observation before delivering a final, certain verdict to the couple. Alone at last, Celine recalled their midnight encounters. To her, conceiving his child felt like a natural twist of fate. Yet, she feared he despised the idea of her being pregnant. Upon hearing this, the Duke fell into heavy silence. After moments of chilling silence, Ahmad confessed his uncertainty about how much time he truly had left in this world. He wondered if he could even stay by the child's side, haunted by the unpredictability of his own tomorrow. Convinced of his impending death, his words felt like a cruel curse or a silent sob to Celine's heart. He wished for her hatred, playing the role of a useless husband. Later, he overheard a chilling conversation nearby. His mother harbored a ruthless plot. Once Celine bore the heir, Camilla intended to vanish her to Mattis immediately. With a forged medical certificate, the process was easy. Mattis was a notorious asylum, a place of no return. It was an inescapable prison. Camilla ordered Melbourne to fabricate the necessary legal documents to seal Celine's fate. Labeling Celine as insane provided the perfect grounds for divorce. How could a mother be so utterly heartless? Horrified by the truth, Ahmad summoned Melbourne, the family lawyer, to the villa for an urgent secret meeting. Upon Melbourne's arrival the next day, Ahmad moved swiftly, asserting his absolute legal authority over all family matters. Camilla had been exploiting his illness to manipulate his wife's future, using his weakness as her personal stepping stone. Her cunning scheme was truly monstrous. Could a real mother do this? Melbourne listened, keeping these secrets strictly confidential. Trusting no one but his resolve, Ahmad spoke plainly. He demanded that his wife be granted a life of security. He envisioned a life of luxury for her after his passing. To ensure this, he prepared his final testament. Melbourne was stunned. The Duke hadn't touched his will in 5 years. Questions regarding Celine were met with silence. He commanded the will be drafted blindly. Upon his death, Celine was to be granted 10 billion ducats immediately. Furthermore, the sprawling 𝒂𝒓𝒚 territory in the empire's fertile south would pass directly into her hands. Ahmad even included the priceless 𝒂𝒓𝒚 family jewels. But beyond the vast inheritance, he added a final, critical condition. He demanded a special clause be woven into the document, a sacred vow to ensure Celine's absolute safety forever. This provision was the Duchess's shield. While his heirs were naturally protected, his wife required a far stronger fortress. Ahmad entrusted Melbourne with her life, commanding him to guard her happiness and legal rights with unwavering loyalty. He gave a final order. The will must be read the very second he drew his final terminal breath. Until that fated moment, the contents were to remain a total secret, hidden even from his own treacherous mother. Melbourne felt the crushing weight of his position. Meanwhile, as a week slipped by, Celine felt the atmosphere shift. The entire mansion now revolved around her, filled with a suffocating tension. But what if she wasn't actually pregnant? While dining alone, a shadow crossed her door. Veronica swept into the room, wearing a suspiciously radiant smile. She offered a formal greeting, attempting to mend their last encounter. Then, she mentioned a favor from Camilla. It was an inescapable request that left Celine feeling drained. Surprisingly, Veronica claimed she desired no future with him. She added that nobody wished for a lonely end after marriage, a remark that struck a painful chord within Celine. Though she spoke her truth, her words felt jagged, cutting through the air with a rude and insensitive edge. In reality, the 𝒂𝒓𝒚 family's influence was waning. As the Duchess, Celine needed to wake up to this reality. Sensing Celine's naivety, Veronica offered blunt advice. Surprisingly, she admitted that she actually quite liked Celine's character. Offering friendship, her warmth left Celine bewildered. How had the original plot of this story warped so drastically? If the plot was shifting, could she also save Ahmad from his doomed fate? A brutal war loomed ahead. The Duke was expected to lead the army, yet his failing health turned this duty into a certain death sentence. Driven by her family's failing honor, she was desperate enough to gamble everything. Camilla demanded a highborn bride, and from her perspective, Veronica simply didn't fit. As Veronica retreated, Celine realized Camilla was prepared to discard her without hesitation. She questioned Veronica's true motive. Was she trying to spark a war within the manor? Eventually, the Duchess uncovered the secret meeting between Ahmad and his loyal Melbourne. She confronted her son, only to find he already knew of her plan to imprison 𝒂𝒉𝒐. From the very first moment she entered the duchy, he saw through his mother's schemes. Camilla feared that a powerful daughter-in-law would eventually usurp her own authority and status. In her defense, if Ahmad were healthy, she wouldn't have resorted to such desperate measures. Had he married a woman like Veronica, she could have lived her days in peace. But reality was cruel. Now, she had to prepare for the absolute worst-case scenario. Camilla agreed to a 1-week trial. Soon, the day of 𝒂𝒉𝒐's second checkup arrived. It was the moment of truth. The doctor confirmed there was no pregnancy at all. While Camilla was disappointed, 𝒂𝒉𝒐 felt a wave of relief. Finally, she could pursue divorce. That night, she visited her husband's chambers and found him staring at a hidden treasure. He tried to hide it, but eventually showed her the first sword he received from his father. Thinking he wanted to pass it to a future heir, 𝒂𝒉𝒐 quietly prepared to depart. As she turned to leave, she slipped. But Ahmad instantly caught her by the waist. He was visibly shaken, but she brushed it off since there was no baby to protect. The tension rose as she claimed he'd prefer having a child with his crush, Veronica. She assured him that one day, he'd have a true heir to inherit that legendary sword. Once you recover, let's end this marriage. But a knight never breaks his sacred oath. To Ahmad, their contract wasn't a game. They were married, and that would never change. He grew agitated when she mentioned divorce and death. To him, the illness felt final. She finally confronted him, revealing she knew the sickness originated from his own mother. She refused to play pretend any longer. She needed him to face the truth of his condition. He explained the grim reality. The curse was in his blood, making it completely incurable. 𝒂𝒉𝒐 warned that ignoring the pain only made it worse, but he had lost all hope. She tried to leave his side, but the stubborn Duke stopped her. They weren't finished yet. She requested permission to depart, explaining she had to visit her younger siblings immediately. Ahmad offered to accompany her, sending 𝒂𝒉𝒐 into a total state of panic and shock. After a long, heated argument, she finally convinced the Duke to stay at the manor. A heavy sigh of relief escaped her, but Ahmad remained behind, his brow furrowed in frustration. Why was his own wife hiding him? Why couldn't he meet his own in-laws? Later that day, 𝒂𝒉𝒐 arrived at Baron Ruden's estate to see her beloved family. Seeing her siblings under Aunt Elda's care brought a rare, genuine smile to her face. She would endure any hardship or Elda's cruel insults just to provide for their future. As they walked toward the house, she pulled one of the children aside for a moment. She shared her deepest concerns, telling them to contact her the moment anything felt wrong. Once Edgar graduated, she dreamed of buying a home where he could be their guardian. Inside, Elda didn't hold back, immediately mocking 𝒂𝒉𝒐's new, expensive, and luxurious appearance. She spitefully claimed that 𝒂𝒉𝒐 must have found a wealthy noble to sponsor her lifestyle. In front of the entire household, she shamelessly labeled 𝒂𝒉𝒐 as nothing but a mistress. The cruel words were spit with venom, despite Elda knowing nothing of the actual truth. Before 𝒂𝒉𝒐 could defend her honor, a familiar, commanding male voice suddenly echoed through the room. Her husband, 𝒂𝒓𝒚, truly embodied the legendary knight in shining armor. Ahmad stood tall, proudly announcing his royal status as 𝒂𝒉𝒐's devoted husband. Stunned by his prestigious bloodline, Elda could only stare in absolute silence. Cradling 𝒂𝒉𝒐, Ahmad's icy gaze warned the elder to never insult her again. 𝒂𝒉𝒐 was his wife. Her honor was his. He was her true prince. Colton, the head butler, intervened, sternly advising the elder to watch her tongue. Colton, escort the Duchess inside. It was time for her to reclaim her place. Ahmad stripped the elder's authority, replacing her staff with his own elite caregivers. Though fury burned in the elder's eyes, she had no choice but to submit. With Elda gone, the siblings swarmed Ahmad, their eyes sparkling with pure wonder. 𝒂𝒉𝒐 seized the moment to introduce her mysterious husband to her adoring family. As Ahmad approached the youngest, 𝒂𝒉𝒐 worried the child might be terrified. To her surprise, little Macnell immediately trusted the Duke without any hesitation. Watching them, she realized Ahmad was destined to be a truly magnificent father. Indeed, Lillian pressed for wedding details, but 𝒂𝒉𝒐 promised to reveal everything very soon. She would explain everything later. For now, her gaze remained fixed on Ahmad. The children adored him, and the once dying Duke surprisingly enjoyed their lively company. They looked like a perfectly happy family. That night, 𝒂𝒉𝒐 offered her thanks, but Ahmad only responded with a lingering stare. With softening eyes, he granted her freedom to visit home without any permission. As darkness fell, 𝒂𝒉𝒐 pondered the strange shift in their growing relationship. Was their bond changing? She sought answers within the quiet library walls. She researched his condition, but no records matched his terrifying and peculiar symptoms. Shifting her focus, she researched the Anor family, Camilla's secretive and ancient lineage. The Anors ruled the north, notoriously famous for excluding all outsiders from their circles. Reading between the lines, a dark suspicion began to take root in her mind. Did their exclusion extend to their blood? Were the Anors practicing bloodline purity, marrying kin to preserve their lineage? The very thought was absolutely revolting. If Ahmad's side of the family was free of such incestuous ties, then why was he so ill? She quickly dismissed the theory as madness. When Rona entered, Selene questioned her for any hidden lore regarding the Anors. Rona knew little, but they both wondered why the Duke went so far. Why seek a bride from a distant land? Only Colton held the truth. Elsewhere in the villa, Colton caught two maids whispering forbidden secrets. Catching them bad-mouthing the Duke, he coldly handed them their final severance pay. Their employment was terminated instantly under the direct and absolute command of Ahmad. Maids must learn silence. While Rona summoned Colton, Selene waited in her room. Praying for clarity, she prepared to confront the butler about Ahmad's mysterious illness. Selene went straight to the point, confronting Colton about her grim bloodline suspicions. Stunned by her intuition, Colton initially feigned ignorance to protect the family's secrets. Selene pleaded, mentioning she'd overheard Camila discussing a hereditary curse in the family. Closing his eyes in defeat, Colton finally began to unveil the long-buried truth. Centuries ago, the Anors practiced inbreeding, eventually realizing the deadly consequences. To save their lineage, they married outsiders, eventually joining the noble house of 𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒚. Back then, the 𝒂𝒑 family was desperate to escape the Iron Throne's suffocating grip. Their only salvation? Securing a powerful alliance with the untouchable House Anor through a political marriage. They thought the curse was broken when Ahmad was born healthy, but now, history is repeating itself. His health is deteriorating rapidly. Hearing this, Selene felt a cold shiver of dread wash over her. Wait, isn't the current Empress also an Anor? Colton's eyes mirrored her deep-seated anxiety. This is exactly why Selene must remain silent. The situation has reached a terrifying breaking point. If the royals learn the Anor bloodline carries a contagious plague, the entire family will be executed. Their lives depend on a grand deception. Ahmad's passing must look like nothing more than natural causes. They had to turn a blind eye to the truth. The dark history of the Anors was surfacing again. Sensing her spiral, Colton tried to reassure her. He claimed the disease might not be a death sentence. Ahmad only showed symptoms after reaching adulthood. Was he suggesting something more sinister was at play? Could it be that his affliction isn't the family curse, but something curable? Rona interrupted her thoughts, announcing it was time for her walk with the Duke. Selene bolted upright. It was pouring outside. How could she have forgotten her promise to meet him in this weather? Soaked to the bone, she found Ahmad waiting. He stood alone in the rain, just as drenched as her. He looked at her with the most heartbreaking expression. He seemed so fragile and pitiful under the storm. Standing face to face, Ahmad's voice trembled as he asked, "Did you forget about me, Selene?" His words pierced her heart like a blade. Even while shivering, he tried to act like he was perfectly fine. Selene couldn't take it anymore. "Nothing about this is fine," she cried, heart racing with concern. Waiting in this freezing rain could kill him. Relenting to her pleas, Ahmad finally led her away. He guided her to a secluded spot. Under a stunning stone arch, they were finally alone in the downpour. The atmosphere was suffocatingly romantic, yet all she could think about was protecting his fading health. Suddenly, Selene threw caution to the wind. She pulled him close, desperate to warm his frozen body with a hug. The tension between them became electric. Sensing her trembling, Ahmad pulled her even tighter against his chest. She finally melted into his touch. In that shared warmth, a fierce and hungry passion began to ignite. Their souls were finally intertwining. Hidden by the veil of rain, their lips met in a deep, intoxicating kiss. Time stood completely still. The cold and the storm vanished. Once the rain slowed, they slowly made their way back together. Selene felt a strange sense of regret. Part of her wished that moment under the arch lasted forever. Reality hit when her shoe snapped. She stood there, struggling with the broken heel in the mud. Before she could react, Ahmad swept her up into a legendary bridal carry. "My heart can't take this." Selene's face flushed a deep crimson. He looked so smugly proud of himself for catching her like that. A flirtatious smirk never left his face. Back at the villa, Selene was still trapped in his arms. He held her tight the entire way. I absolutely loved the growing obsession in his eyes. They reached his private chambers. While they waited for the bath, the air grew thick with tension. Ahmad's hands moved to her dress. He insisted on undressing her himself since she was soaked through. Even though they weren't strangers to intimacy, Selene's heart was drumming against her ribs. Her skin burned as he slowly unlaced the back of her heavy gown. "This isn't fair," she stammered. She protested that he was still wearing his own freezing, wet clothes. Ahmad wasn't about to lose this round. With one fluid motion, he stripped his shirt off, exposing everything. Celine's breath caught in her throat. She was staring directly at his perfectly sculpted, bare chest. He grabbed a thick blanket but didn't cover himself. He wrapped her up first, ignoring his own shivers. She tried to pull the blanket over him too. "You need to stay warm as well," she insisted. Ever the charmer, Ahmad pulled her flesh against him. "No blanket is as warm as you, Celine." "He's so smooth." Just then, the maid announced that the hot bath was finally ready. Sweeping her into his arms, Ahmad carefully lowers Celine into the bath before turning to make a hasty exit. Celine pouts, heart sinking. Fearing his health might fail, she boldly invites the Duke to join her in the water. As they settle in, the rising steam can't hide their racing hearts and the suffocating, shy tension between them. To shatter the heavy silence, Celine makes a daring suggestion. "Ahmad, please take off your clothes." "It's purely for comfort," she claims. "Wet pants are just too bothersome, right?" "Sure, Selene, we totally believe you." Seeing him hesitate out of respect for her modesty, Celine decides to take matters into her own hands immediately. Bursting with sudden courage, she stands up, demanding they both strip. Perhaps she is getting a bit too enthusiastic? Disaster strikes. She slips, tumbling right into Ahmad's lap. Well, that escalated at lightning speed, didn't it? Ahmad stares in total shock. Is her secret to survival truly just being this adorable klutz? She just huffs. She stammers an apology for her clumsy fall and that scandalous suggestion, while being unable to even move. She tries to take it back, promising to stay away, but he suddenly pulls her into a tight, wet embrace. Locked in a close embrace, their breaths mingle as Ahmad whispers a low, husky command, "Stay with me." Trying to maintain her composure is useless. Celine's face erupts in a crimson blush at his hidden meaning. She asks why he's so tense. "Oh, girl, you're playing with fire." He remains dangerously stoic and expressionless. Realization hits her like a truck. She tries to backtrack as her face turns a deeper shade of scarlet. Too late, there's no turning back now. Ahmad has fallen hook, line, and sinker for her accidental trap. Morning light finds them tangled together after a night of intense passion and undeniable, heart-pounding romance. Waking up, Ahmad teases if she'll flee like their first night. But this time, Selene finds her true courage. "I'm not going anywhere," she declares boldly. They celebrate their new bond with a sweet breakfast in bed. Over breakfast, she probes about his first collapse. He sighs, claiming it felt like any other miserable, painful day. The only outlier? A specific painkiller he took for a migraine? Something about that medicine felt strangely off. There is truly a dark secret hiding within the tonics and medicines forced upon the Duke every day. Celine's heart sinks. Was his medicine actually a slow-acting poison designed to keep him weak and dying? It's a terrifying theory, but her love drives her. She pours out her soul while clutching his hand tightly. Holding Ahmad, she begs, "Even if you give up on yourself, please. Don't you dare give up on us." A moment so bittersweet it hurts. Returning home, Celine is greeted by her loyal and very nosy maid, Rona. Rona doesn't miss a single beat, immediately teasing her lady about the steamy night spent with the Duke. Then comes Greta, bearing fertility tonics. The family is certainly eager for an heir to the duchy's fortune. They push these potions every time they share a night. Celine drinks it, but Greta lingers like a shadow. Greta coldly reminds her of her official duties. It is time for Celine to prepare for the final step. Leave her alone already. Once Greta finally leaves, the stress takes its toll and Celine collapses with fever. Even in her delirium, she only thinks of Ahmad. If she's this sick, is he suffering the same pain? She tries to rush to his side, but collapses in a heap. Hours pass before she finally opens eyes. The tables have turned. Now, the once-dying Duke is the one tenderly cradling his sick wife in his arms. He softly promises never to leave her side until she's well. My heart. He's become so incredibly devoted. Once recovered, Celine's detective mode activates. She must find the truth behind the Duke's special herbal tea. She sends Rona on a secret mission. By the exact same tea Greta serves the Duke. No one knows. Ever the loyal shadow, Rona returns quickly with the suspicious tea leaves that Celine had demanded to see. But the results are baffling. On the surface, the ingredients seem perfectly normal and safe for consumption. The only outlier is a rare spice called Thor. It is not toxic, just incredibly expensive and very exotic. Her thoughts are shattered as a maid suddenly bursts in, screaming the terrifying words that Celine feared most. Ahmad has collapsed again. He was just fine. How could his condition worsen so catastrophically fast in this time? Panic surging, Celine flies to her husband's chambers, desperate to save him from the dark brink once again. The family doctor, Raymond, blames it on a simple chill from the rain, but Celine isn't buying his lies. She coldly dismisses the doctor. The moment he is gone, she turns to Rona with fire in her eyes. Something's wrong. A day passed since the storm, yet the Duke's agony only intensifies. Why? The moment Celine retreated to her chambers, she and Rona hurried straight to Walter's estate. They needed the tea tested immediately. Walter, the master apothecary, began the urgent inspection. Ahmad consumed only this tea. Walter found only ordinary leaves, yet a dark suspicion lingered. He feared a rare phantom ingredient, Thor, had been secretly blended into the mixture. Thor is elusive, harmless alone, but it becomes a lethal toxin when dancing in boiling tea. This mixture incinerates the body from within, causing waves of agonizing, soul-shattering pain. Greta and Raymond prepared it. A conspiracy? Celine froze in absolute heart-stopping shock. Every symptom matched perfectly. The tea wasn't medicine, it was a weapon slowly killing him. Celine raced back to the manor, desperate to warn Camilla about the viper in their midst. Instead, she faced Raymond. Camilla praised his timing as he arrived with his final results. He prepared to speak. Celine's heart hammered. She had to expose his treachery right now. Trapped by etiquette, she was forced to endure Raymond's twisted, calculated performance first. The trap snapped shut. Raymond smugly claimed he'd found the source of the Duke's collapse. He brandished a bottle for all to see. Not wine, he lied, but concentrated poison. The bribed maids testified as one. They swore Celine was last seen holding that bottle. Fury erupted. Camilla's decree was cold and final. Throw Celine into the dungeon immediately. She couldn't believe her son was poisoned by the very woman she loathed the most. Framed and forsaken, Raymond sneered at the success of his wicked and perfect scheme. Celine stood tall, refusing a prisoner's walk. She marched to her cell with defiant grace. Through tears, she vowed to prove her innocence and save her dying, beloved Duke. Raymond's trap was perfect. Celine was now a prisoner, accused of murdering her own husband. Even in chains, she didn't fear for her own life. Her heart remained with Ahmad. Was he safe? Suddenly, the heavy iron door groaned open. Raymond had arrived to gloat. The snake revealed the truth. He warned that the Duchess planned a brutal, final punishment. Camilla wanted Celine to feel every ounce of Ahmad's agonizing and soul-crushing torment. Raymond proposed a living death. Isolation in a hellish place where light never reaches. Matis Asylum, the Empire's graveyard. A place where sanity dies and no one escapes alive. Celine stayed icy calm. She asked the devil exactly how she could avoid this trap. Confess, he whispered. Admit the crime, and I will help you flee this place forever. She refused. He spoke of Matis with a chilling, suspicious familiarity that she quickly noted. She questioned his dark past. Raymond's facade shattered into a murderous and burning rage. Alone again, Celine plotted. When a maid brought food, she saw her only opportunity. A strategic collapse. The panicked maid screamed for help, just as Celine had planned. Camilla rushed in. Celine awoke and demanded a private, urgent conversation with the matriarch. Alone with the Duchess, Celine denied every charge with cold and unwavering conviction. She revealed the truth. If the true traitor stayed free, Ahmad would surely die soon. She produced a hidden pouch. To survive, she had to convince Camilla to trust her. The Duchess stared at the contents. The evidence of a conspiracy was finally coming light. Thor herb, a silent killer that turns a soothing cup of tea into liquid fire. It incinerates the insides. Celine revealed she had felt that same burning fire herself. Horror struck Camilla. She recalled Ahmad's collapse and the tea Greta had recently brewed. The kitchen was vulnerable. Suddenly, Raymond's voice echoed from the hallway, looking for her. Camilla's resolve wavered. Celine urged her to finally strike the traitorous doctor down. Her claim was bold. Ahmad wasn't terminal. He was being slowly and systematically murdered. She begged not to be sent to the asylum. The sudden plea left Camilla completely stunned. She was unaware Raymond was manipulating her. Celine knew the Duchess had to hear the truth now. The doctor verified her innocence. Finally, she requested to nurse her husband and catch the real culprit. Stepping out of isolation, Celine finally exhaled. She returned to her room and sent Greta for tea. She specifically ordered 2 cups. The elderly maid complied immediately, suspecting absolutely nothing of her lady's plan. Once Greta left, Celine's loyal maid Lorna entered. Celine immediately tasked the young girl with a mission. Go find Colton, she whispered. We must uncover if Raymond has hidden ties back in Matis. From their earlier conversation, Raymond's intimate knowledge of the facility seemed far too suspicious to be natural. Celine planned to use Greta to sever the link between Camilla and Raymond. She grabbed a hidden box. Greta returned just as the tea was ready. Celine invited the old woman to share a drink together. Greta was shocked. She politely declined, claiming it was strictly against the rules for a humble servant. The maid's reaction practically screamed guilt. Celine went for the kill, accusing her of poisoning the tea. Celine flung the lid open. Her suspicions were confirmed. The brew was laced with toxic Thor leaves. Infuriated by the maid's lies, Celine splashed the tea on her. Greta tried to flee toward Camilla's room. "Stop right there," Celine hissed. "If you leave now, you'll be the prime suspect in poisoning Ahmad." Greta snapped back with a sharp retort. Finally, Celine revealed the cold truth behind her accusations. She detailed the lethal ingredients. Celine knew the old woman was acting under Raymond's sinister orders. She brandished the evidence, a secret ledger listing every illicit item purchased for the household recently. The dates matched perfectly. On the day Greta served that meal, Ahmad had suddenly collapsed in pain. The maid slumped to the floor in shock. The weight of her treacherous actions finally crushed her. Celine demanded the truth about Raymond. Under intense pressure, Greta finally confessed the doctor's dark involvement. After Ahmad's initial collapse, Raymond had investigated only to realize the tea was the smoking gun. Greta swore she was ignorant of the effects. It was Raymond who ordered her to use Thor. When asked about the hush money, Celine revealed the truth. Greta was merely a pawn in Raymond's game. He forced her to use the substance so that any blame would fall squarely on her shoulders. Greta revealed that other maids were replaced to hide the trail. Celine's suspicions were finally validated. She released the maid, ordering her to report no incidents to the Duchess. Greta obeyed with gratitude. Alone now, Celine wondered who else was present when Ahmad first fell ill besides the dismissed servants. She realized medication was the key. Therefore, the royal pharmacist must have been involved in the conspiracy. Raymond likely manipulated the prescriptions for Ahmad. Finding that pharmacist would provide the final, crushing proof. Celine rushed from her room, her heart suddenly aching with an overwhelming wave of longing for Ahmad. She vowed to do whatever it took. Reaching her destination, she found Raymond lurking inside the chamber. He looked like a deer in headlights. Sensing his guilt, Celine coldly ordered the doctor to leave. He tried to play the hero, reminding her how he helped secure her freedom from Camilla's control. He mentioned their secret deal before retreating. Left alone, she sat beside her unconscious, sleeping husband. She swore to clear her name and expose the villain. Only then could they truly be together. Lorna returned with disappointing news. The head butler, Colton, had offered no help regarding Raymond's mysterious past. Celine knew the old man was as cunning as a fox. Colton was definitely hiding something important. His silence suggested a deep connection to the former duke. What secret was he trying to protect? Suddenly, the young maid spotted a stray handkerchief lying abandoned on the cold library floor. Celine recognized it as Raymond's. Noticing the embroidered initials, she decided to return it to him personally. Clutching the silk, she resolved to confront Colton again and force the truth out of the butler. Before departing, she gave Laura a strict warning. Raymond must not give Ahmad any more mysterious medication. She feared he would worsen Ahmad's condition. Celine headed to the library and found Colton organizing books. A portrait of the late Duke caught her eye. It was clear Ahmad inherited his father's features. Colton asks what she needs. Celine demands the truth about Raymond's secret ties. He is linked to an asylum. Colton hesitates, fearing the dark secrets involved. Celine's sincerity breaks him. She suspects Raymond's motive is a twisted, blood-soaked revenge. Fearing for his young master, Colton finally reveals Raymond's tragic, hidden history. Raymond was a distant relative, adopted solely to keep the family business alive. His sister was frail and ill. Celine finds a handkerchief with the initial A. The mystery unravels. That A stands for Anne, the former Duke's forbidden first love. Celine is frozen. Anne descended into madness the day the Duke wed Camilla. Locked in an asylum while pregnant with Ryanel's child, her world completely collapsed. The baby died, and Anne followed 5 years ago. This is Raymond's motive. Revenge for his sister. Celine needs undeniable proof to crush his wicked scheme. Suddenly, she spots a shadow creeping toward Ahmad's chamber. The predator is moving. Lorna stops the man. He's just an errand boy, shaking under Celine's gaze. Raymond ordered him to deliver medicine in secret. The trap was carefully set. This emergency drug was actually designed to trigger a fatal, untraceable stroke. Ordered by Walter the pharmacist, Celine realizes the doctor was just a pawn. With proof in hand, she summons the traitors to face their final judgment. The room is heavy. Raymond, Greta, and Walter wait as Camilla finally arrives. Celine steps forward, her voice cold as she exposes the sins of this house. She presents the witnesses. The maid's healing tea was actually a slow-acting poison, a lethal cocktail of conflicting drugs designed to rot Ahmad from the inside. A hidden embezzlement scheme turned into a campaign of murder led by Raymond. Confronted, Raymond laughs coldly. He admits everything, all for his dead, broken sister. He even killed the unborn heir to ensure the Duke's bloodline ended forever. Horrified, Camilla screams for justice, ordering Colton to drag the traitors away. Celine tries to comfort the Duchess, but is rejected, left alone in silence. The betrayal has broken the matriarch. Celine returns to watch over her husband. She refuses to rest. As a chill enters, she reaches for the window. A floorboard creaks. A masked assassin stands over Ahmad, blade gleaming with death. Without a thought, Celine throws her body over Ahmad as a human shield. The blade swings, then stops. Celine opens her eyes to a shocking miracle. The attacker falls. Ahmad stands tall, gun smoking. Their lips meet passionately. He is awake. The Duke has returned, more obsessed with his wife than ever. The assassin was a spy. Celine quickly explains Raymond's treachery to her husband. Ahmad's gaze turns icy. He heads straight for his mother to reclaim control. The Duke announces his return and the intruder's death, calling an emergency meeting. He reveals a hidden pill from his necklace, the final piece of incriminating evidence. Walter didn't create it, but he sold the recipe for death despite knowing. Celine proves the poison's lethality herself. Ahmad towers over the kneeling, broken Raymond. Camilla demands blood, but Raymond greets her fury with a hollow, haunting stare. "Hang him!" she shrieks. Greta wails for mercy, begging for her miserable life. Ahmad intervenes, sentencing them to honor the frozen hell where the sun never shines. They will rot in the mines, with Raymond healing the sick just to work. The banishment is final. Ahmad officially resumes his duties, the sleeping lion awake. With the storm past, he offers a final, cold farewell to his mother. With the Duke miraculously cured, he appoints Celine to manage the estate. Camilla watches in shock. The contract is fulfilled, and he is healthy. Justice was served to those who poisoned him. Peace finally returns, and as she speaks, he listens with newfound, intense devotion. Relieved, Celine embraces him tightly. He's finally safe. She clings to him, thinking her role is finally over and she can leave. She holds him through her tears, unwilling to let go. Meanwhile, news of the Duke's resurrection spreads through the Empire like wildfire. Within a day, the knights demand their commander's return. Doubting the rumors, they challenge him to prove he is still a legendary warrior. Ready to reclaim his throne, Ahmad dons his silver knight's uniform once more, preparing for the grand inspection. Celine is breathless, seeing him in full regalia. He looks like a god of war. Ahmad promises Camilla's schemes are only temporary struggles. He turns the conversation back to his beloved wife. He asks what gift she desires. Blushing, she confesses she only wants his heart. He pulls her into a lingering, possessive embrace. He bids her farewell as dusk falls. Hours later, a butler rushes to Celine with urgent news regarding the Duke's grand return. Absolute victory. Ahmad has reclaimed his title as Captain of the Sun Knights. His triumph in the arena was nothing short of perfection. He crushed every challenge. Now he holds the loyalty of the army, a power far more significant than any decree from the emperor. Servants line the halls, cheering for their master's return. But Ahmad ignores them all, his only thought being to see his wife again. That night, they walk through the moonlit gardens. The peace is short-lived, as Ahmad reveals the king has ordered his army to war. Celine realizes the plot has shifted from the original novel, Lady Crown. The book said the prince would lead this war, not Ahmad. Terrified of the butterfly effect, she fears for his life on the battlefield. Sensing her distress, Ahmad presents a small blue box. It's a token of his devotion. Trembling, she opens the tired-looking velvet case. A massive, heart-shaped pink gemstone glitters before her. The pendant is encased in gold, radiating a warm, magical glow. Strung on delicate pink silk, Celine cherishes the gift from her once-dying husband with deep, heartfelt appreciation. Days later, Celine visits his study. Ahmad has been working tirelessly, his eyes showing the strain of sleepless nights before the war. Entering quietly, she finds him slumped over his chair. As she leans in to cover him with a blanket, she is suddenly grabbed. He pulls her close, suddenly awake. He teases her for sneaking in, but Celine tries to discuss the business contract signed with Camilla. Before she can utter a word of business, he silences her with a deep, breathless kiss that melts her entire resolve. He demands they share a room from now on. After all, that is how true married couples live. They share one bedroom. She stammers a refusal, but his gaze is obsidian. He intends to fulfill every husband's duty and responsibility tonight. When she asks if he means an heir, he confirms it and pulls her into another passionate, soul-searing kiss. Later, Lorna finds Celine pale and trembling in bed. The Duchess is clearly unwell, struggling even to sit up as her strength fails. Lorna gasps at the sight of blood where Celine lay. Fear grips the room. Something is terribly wrong with the mistress of the house. A physician is summoned. After examining her, he asks a chilling question. Has she been taking secret contraceptive medicine? Celine is stunned. She never touched such things. Why would she sabotage her own marriage when she has no reason to? The doctor warns that her low blood pressure is a classic symptom of a rare, potent contraceptive poison hidden in medicine. He's seen this before in high society scandals. Every woman with these symptoms was being secretly drugged to prevent an imperial pregnancy. Common birth control is unreliable, leading the elite to seek out more sinister, effective methods to control bloodlines and inheritance. These high-grade methods are prohibitively expensive and lethal if mismanaged. Only the wealthiest families have access to such chemical warfare. Timing is everything with these toxins. A single mistake can lead to severe side effects like permanent physical damage. Celine's blood runs cold as she remembers Greta's fertility vitamins. She had been poisoned with those pills the entire time. She realizes Raymond must be the mastermind behind this betrayal. Desperate, she begs the doctor to identify the exact substance Greta used to rob her of her future without her knowing. Celine insists she only took what she thought were health tonics. The doctor admits he must see the physical pills to be certain. He notes that high-end contraceptives are distilled from the most lethal snake venoms in the world. It's not medicine, it's venom. She recalls the strange snake seen in the garden since she was a small child. Celine's voice trembles as she asks for the final prognosis. The doctor's face falls as he prepares to deliver a devastating blow. The verdict is in. Celine may never be able to conceive a child in the future. Lorna weeps as the tragedy sinks in. Meanwhile, Ahmad is outside, his heart full of dreams about having children together. To provide him an heir was her only wish. Now impossible. Broken, she commands the doctor to keep her infertility a secret. Just as her husband prepared to speak, Camila cut them off, confronting Celine with a shocking discovery. Infertility. The doctor's verdict was cold. Leave them behind. Now, Celine stands utterly alone. She had unknowingly taken the pills Greta provided, but Camila accused her of cold-blooded intent. Celine refused to yield. Such a heavy accusation shattered their contract. Camila demanded proof of her innocence immediately, but their only hope, the sole witness, had already been exiled to the desolate northern wastes. The Dowager Duchess sneered. Since Ahmad was healthy now, he could sire heirs with anyone else. The contract was over. Celine agreed to leave. Her dream of being his true wife and mothering his children had turned to ash. That hope was dead. Camila warned her, never tell Ahmad, or he would cast her out himself. Celine begged Lorna to bury the truth. Her inability to conceive must remain a tragic, silent secret. What would my husband think? Drinking alone, she's found by a worried Ahmad, asking about the doctor's visit. He arrived early, gently caressing her face, his eyes overflowing with genuine concern for his beloved wife. She claimed nothing was wrong, but Ahmad wondered if he'd been too passionate lately. He promised to. From now on, he'd have to restrain his desires. Yes, Ahmad, take it down a notch. Celine tentatively probed, asking if he envied the other knights who already had children of their own. Hearing him say having children would be wonderful only plunged her deeper into a dark, silent despair. Not wanting her lonely, Ahmad swept her up. He offered a trip south to a warm, beautiful haven. But she refused. She vowed to be the very first person to welcome him home from the front lines. He kissed her brow, lulling her to sleep. On his final night before the war, he found her again. She was stargazing when he confessed his need to see her. Celine pulled him into a desperate, lingering kiss. Ahmad was stunned. With years of separation ahead, she wanted to give him a night he'd never forget. With a gaze full of heat, Ahmad vowed she would belong to him under the eternal moon. He left with a vow to return. But the moment he vanished, Camila ruthlessly kicked Celine out. The old woman spat threats, desperate to erase Celine's presence from the grand manor forever. This mother-in-law is taking the villain role too seriously. She shoved money toward Celine to end it. Tossing the divorce papers, she demanded a signature. Celine replied that harsh words weren't necessary for her departure. She would honor their deal. Celine walked away quickly, though her heart remained tethered to Ahmad. Before she could escape the gates, a lawyer caught her. Ahmad had prepared a massive estate in her name. This was her compensation. Celine realized with a sinking heart that the Duke had planned this divorce long ago. He had prepared for her exit beforehand. With a sharp ache of betrayal, she signed the final papers. The documents were finalized. It was truly over. Celine officially stepped out of the Duke's life forever. Later, she visited the dessert shop they once shared. Memories of their happiness flooded back, unbidden. She overheard patrons whispering about her husband's legendary prowess as the supreme commander of the army. All she could do was pray for his safety. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Ahmad faced growing concerns. Poverty, the land they fought for, was rich with resources. Despite the chaos, his mind stayed fixed on victory. He couldn't help the pang of jealousy seeing other soldiers receive sweet letters from their wives. Celine promised to wait, yet no word ever came. He hid his anxiety, but he was dying inside. He waited desperately for just one letter from his beloved. If only he knew the tragedy that had struck. Suddenly, urgent news arrived. The Crown Prince's aide had gone rogue behind enemy lines, ignoring all direct orders. Ahmad coldly ordered his punishment. But out of the shadows, the arrogant Prince Royce made his appearance. He claimed Ahmad couldn't touch his knight, vowing that once he became emperor, Ahmad's forces would suffer. Ahmad ignored the empty threats, asking if the prince wanted a taste of punishment too. He's just a lieutenant. In this army, Ahmad's rank reigned supreme over the royal prince. The hierarchy was absolute. Enraged, the prince retaliated by insulting Celine, mocking her as a common girl Ahmad picked off the streets. That was a fatal mistake. Ahmad didn't hesitate, he slammed a fist into the prince's face, causing pure chaos. Royce screamed treason, but Ahmad merely glared, challenging the coward to a formal life-or-death duel. The duel was cut short. Before the trembling prince or the marquise could even react, Veronica made her grand entrance. Hope flared in the prince's eyes the moment he saw his fiancée. But Veronica's gaze remained sharp as she questioned his state. Despite his bruised face, the shameless prince lied, claiming he merely tripped. Veronica ignored his pathetic excuses, declaring she came to end this war. She aimed to negotiate with the enemy queen herself. To let the prince take the credit, she only required his royal seal of approval. The prince was eager to agree, desperate for the glory, but Ahmad suddenly cut them off with a cold, piercing gaze. He refused to let her interfere in such dangerous matters. However, Veronica claimed the emperor himself had personally commissioned their arrival. Seeing no official decree, Ahmad remained skeptical. Without hesitation, he ordered his knights to escort Veronica and her father away immediately. Veronica pleaded for the prince's intervention, but when Ahmad demanded to know their relationship, the prince's response was chillingly simple. "There is nothing between us." What a pathetic excuse for a prince. Is he truly nothing but a spineless coward? When asked why he refused to negotiate, Ahmad declared his intent to end this conflict once and for all, preventing future bloodshed. Only then would he never have to leave his precious wife's side ever again. His heart ached for her. He vowed to return with the perfect gift and escort her to the grand victory ball. He wouldn't just be celebrated as a hero, he would finally present her to the world as his beloved duchess. Every ounce of glory he earned, he wanted to offer it to her, making her the most radiant star in the empire. Fueled by iron resolve, Ahmad claimed ultimate victory by capturing the enemy commander. At last, the long, bloody war was finally over. The SSketitan Empire emerged triumphant, forcing the defeated nations to pay a staggering price in war reparations. By the time peace was restored, the seasons had shifted. The entire kingdom roared in celebration as the imperial army returned home. Yet, the highly anticipated victory banquet was missing its star. The war hero himself was nowhere to be found. Where could he be? Of course, Duke 𝒂𝒓𝒚 didn't waste a second. He raced home to the wife he cherished above all else. But his heart sank upon arrival. His wife wasn't there to welcome him home as she had once promised. He demanded to see her immediately. Even his mother's warm welcome couldn't pierce his cold, desperate focus. He barely acknowledged her presence, only asking for his wife's whereabouts. That's when Camilla dropped the bombshell. Celine was gone. She had left of her own free will. Their secret agreement was finally exposed. Camilla presented the divorce papers as proof that Celine only cared about the money. That scheming old woman had planned this all along. Ahmad was devastated, yet he flatly refused to sign. Every memory of Celine's presence flooded his mind, refusing to let her go. He recalled her desperate prayers for his survival. It was her devotion that had nursed him back from the brink of death. Did she heal him only to leave him? He wondered if her conscience was truly as cold as these papers suggested. He silenced his mother, needing no further lies. "Go now, Ahmad. Go find your beautiful runaway bride." Ahmad cursed his own blindness. He never imagined his wife was trapped by a cold, heartless contract this entire time. He roared at Colton, demanding to know why he was kept in the dark about Celine's sudden departure. His loyal butler explained he couldn't stop her, but he had ensured someone followed her every move in secret. Unfortunately, the knights lost her trail in the city of Pitied. Even a search of her family home yielded no clues. Her siblings were clueless, leaving Ahmad in a blind rage. He was determined to punish whoever dared to hide her. Panic seized his heart as he questioned Lorna, desperate for any note or message Celine might have left behind for him. But his wife had vanished without a trace. Little did she know, she had overlooked one crucial detail. She had clearly underestimated the Duke's obsession. After days of tireless searching, he finally discovered a single, shimmering earring. An old woman had found it on the streets of Dayton. Ahmad vowed to reclaim his lost moon at any cost. Meanwhile, Celine was embracing a quiet life at a local pharmacy, finally free to study the medicinal herbs she loved. She even befriended a co-worker named Anna, though the poor girl was drowning in a mountain of heavy debt. Anna noticed her missing earring, but Celine remained optimistic, certain that her lost treasure would eventually find its way back. It had been lost once before and returned. Surely destiny would provide again. But then, rumors from the capital reached her. Her friends gossiped about Ahmad, claiming he abandoned his wife after recovering. Celine couldn't help but quietly defend the Duke. However, she was stunned to learn the victory banquet had been postponed. Was the great hero really refusing to attend without her? She tried to bury her thoughts in work, but then the shop door creaked open and a shadow stepped inside. A persistent customer kept hounding Celine, but she ignored his advances and tried to make a quick escape. Even when told she was a married woman, the man refused to take no for an answer. He cornered her during chores, masking his creepy intentions with a fake offer of help. When she brushed him off, he grabbed her roughly only to be slammed down by a mysterious force. It was Ahmad. He stepped in with lethal grace, warning the man never to touch his wife. The creep fled in absolute terror, trembling under the weight of the Duke's cold fury. Celine stood frozen in shock. Was this powerful, healthy man truly her Ahmad? Fear gripped her as her former husband caressed her face. Just then, her friend spotted them. Her friend was dazzled by Ahmad's godly visuals, but the Duke claimed Celine before she could speak. He declared he was her husband and pulled her into a possessive embrace, leaving no room for denial. Left alone to talk, Ahmad dropped a bombshell. They were going home. Celine was utterly dazed. Over tea, the tension was thick. The Duke demanded she stop acting like they were strangers. Celine fired back, admitting her new life was better than the prison of his mansion. To her, the estate felt like a cage where she awaited execution, despite his mother's explanations. She brought up the contract in the air, thinking their deal ended after his recovery. Ahmad looked pained, asking if her confession of love was just part of a cold business deal. She tried to justify her actions, but he showed her a lost earring, proving he was frantic with worry. He feared she had been harmed, yet Celine refused to let her heart be swayed so easily. She shouted that it was all over. Ahmad simply smirked, grabbing her hand with burning intensity. He revealed the truth: he never signed the divorce papers. They were still bound by sacred vows. The Duke demanded she pay for her desertion by staying by his side to bear his successor. Ahmad, that is definitely not the way to win a lady's heart back. Celine was stunned. Why hadn't his mother told him that she was now unable to conceive? Ahmad confessed he couldn't imagine a future without her, sliding the wedding ring back on her finger. To him, it was a promise. To her, it felt like hell. Celine pushed him away in a panic. She screamed that she only married for money and vowed to pay every single coin back. She hadn't spent a single penny of the compensation, keeping it all hidden away. But when she went to retrieve the bag, her heart stopped. The money was gone. A note from a friend revealed they had stolen it to cover debts. Talk about a betrayal. With her escape fund gone, Ahmad smugly asked how she planned to pay him back now. Feeling like a trapped pawn, she pointed out that he didn't actually need the gold. He just wanted to use the old contract to force her into having his child. Her cold words pierced Ahmad's heart. He realized she saw his obsession as mere duty. He vowed to make things right, insisting she return to the mansion to atone for leaving. One way or another, Ahmad was getting his way. He demanded she fulfill her marital duties. Celine stood her ground, declaring she would never have a child without love. She agreed to act as the perfect wife, but only with a strict boundary between them. She refused to give him her heart, demanding their relationship remain cold and professional. Enraged by her rejection, Ahmad declared he'd only let her go once he was tired of her. The toxicity was peaking as Celine was forced into a carriage headed back to the estate. Upon arrival, the Duke played the doting husband, kissing her hand in front of the servants. She expected separate quarters, but Ahmad pulled her close, reminding her they were a couple. He insisted they share a bed just like they did before the war began. Stay strong, Celine. Back in their old bedroom, the memories came rushing back. Everything was exactly as she had left it. Suddenly, a tearful Lorna burst in, overjoyed. The Duchess has returned. After a quiet greeting, she pulls her maid aside. The secret of her infertility must never reach the Duke's ears. It must remain hidden from Ahmad. Lorna swears an oath of absolute secrecy. Satisfied, Selene inquires about the head butler. Lorna tearfully reveals that Colton is being cast out. The news strikes Selene like a lightning bolt. She rushes to find the old man before he departs. She pleads for him to stay. "I still need your wisdom to manage this household," she insists. He is the pillar she cannot lose. She realizes Ahmad is punishing him for her own secret departure. Colton was only following her orders, yet he takes the blame. He is truly innocent in this. Relieved, Colton agrees to stay and serve his lady. Later, Ahmad's gaze pierces through her. He demands to know why she kept the butler. Selene stands her ground. Household management is the heart of the estate. She needs his expert guidance to navigate the coming storms. The Duke relents, respecting her resolve. He drops the matter entirely. Then, he announces the Victory Gala, an event that can no longer be delayed. With a look of pure devotion, Ahmad smiles. "Look forward to it," he whispers. The air between them crackles with anticipation. Cupping her face, he declares this will be her grand debut. From that day on, Selene is swept into a whirlwind of silk and etiquette lessons. She practices her steps until they are flawless. She looks like a dream in motion. However, a nagging doubt shadows her heart. The original story is warping. By now, Veronica and Prince Royce should have already been wed. But Ahmad's legendary fame has shifted the stars. The royal wedding is postponed, and the timeline has fractured, all because she saved her dying husband. The Duke is fully recovered. Her every action is rewriting the very fabric of fate. Finally, the night of the grand banquet arrives. Selene steps from the carriage, looking like a goddess in gold. Suddenly, a wave of nausea hits her. She brushes it off as mere nerves. Ahmad appears instantly, his eyes filled with intense worry for his radiant wife. Looking up, she is breathless. Ahmad looks dangerously handsome tonight. She isn't the only woman in the room mesmerized by his presence. Catching her stare, the fierce Duke turns shy. He avoids her gaze, his cheeks flushing. Selene beams, telling him he looks absolutely magnificent. He touches her cheek, making her heart skip a beat. But then he blunders. "You look cold in that dress," he mumbles awkwardly. That wasn't the compliment she expected, Ahmad. She pouts in frustration. She thought he was finally going to call her beautiful. He firmly grips her waist, as if afraid she might vanish. He must introduce her to the world as his Duchess. Together, they step into the hall. Every eye in the room is fixed on them. The war hero and his stunning bride have arrived. He whispers a promise to protect her from every gaze. They glide across the floor in a perfect, graceful dance. Selene wishes this magical moment could last forever, but reality intrudes. The Emperor summons the Duke. Ahmad is forced to leave her side for a royal audience. Selene is left alone to face the vipers of high society. Lady 𝒂𝒆 sneers, loudly mocking Selene's past as a mere maid. The nobles wait for her to crumble. That's when Veronica steps in, playing the role of the saintly hero. She scolds 𝒂𝒆, yet subtly reminds everyone of Selene's low-born origins. But Selene doesn't flinch. Her background is not a source of shame. She admits it with unwavering dignity. She was a maid, and she is proud of it. Caring for the sick was a noble calling, never a disgrace to her name. She doesn't feel a shred of embarrassment. She even reminds the crowd that she nursed Lady 𝒂𝒆's own mother. The nobles fall silent, their judgment shattered. Suddenly, Ahmad returns. His expression is cold enough to freeze the room. He heard the insults directed at his wife. Outside, Selene worries that her past will tarnish his reputation. The Duke takes her hand, his eyes soft and warm. "Of everyone I know, you are the most hardworking," he declares. He kisses her deeply, and Selene's heart melts. Her defenses crumble before his overwhelming sincerity. Soon after, they meet the Emperor. Selene gasps as Ahmad makes a bold, unprecedented request. He asks the son of the Empire to attend their wedding. To her shock, the Emperor agrees. Ahmad vows this wedding will be unforgettable. Preparation for the grand event begins in earnest. Her husband's obsession is reaching new heights. He even orders commemorative gifts for every person in the land. Gold coins engraved with their faces? It is utterly over the top. His devotion is becoming legendary. Even so, Selene cannot hide her happiness. But her peace is short-lived. An uninvited guest arrives to stir the waters. Lady Veronica has come to poison the atmosphere. She offers a hollow congratulation. Then, she makes a calculated claim. She boasts that she and the Duke have been close since childhood. Selene senses a lie. Veronica was adopted at 15. They couldn't have grown up together. Does the nobility not know the truth of her birth? Veronica claims she was simply visiting the Grand Duchess. She mentions the wedding, but 𝒃 delivers a sharp warning. "I'm not so sure you'll even receive an invitation." She smiles. Ugh, how irritating. Veronica seethes with rage before storming away in a huff. Donning her cold grace, 𝒃 commands Colton to unearth Veronica's darkest hidden secrets. The grand day arrives. The Duchess looks ethereal as Ahmad appears silently behind his bride. Perfection personified. These two truly look like a divine match made in the heavens. Reaching the venue, Ahmad confesses his deepest fear that she might never have appeared. 𝒃 calms his heart. "Everything has changed. You look breathtaking tonight," she whispers softly. Flushed with heat, the Duke escorts his bride inside to a chorus of thunderous applause. A breathtaking vow renewal. This time they are bound together as a true, loving couple. As his lips meet hers, her heart races wildly. Their souls are finally in sync. Pure bliss. That night, 𝒃 feels a shy heat seeing her husband post-bath. She tries to flee his gaze, but the Duke's growing obsession won't let her escape. He demands the truth. The contract. "It's over," she says, her eyes filled with sorrow. Ahmad senses her lie. Tilting her chin, he forces her to face his intense, burning gaze. "Don't fall for him," she warns her heart. Eventually, she must set him free. Seeing her sadness, Ahmad pulls her close. "You are my wife. Nothing else matters." Until death, he vows, "I'll never let you go." Their kiss turns hungry and desperate. She can't resist this daily yearning. Meanwhile, in the palace, a venomous plot brews. Royce fumes with rage. Not inviting the crown prince? A direct insult to his royalty. Veronica mocks his wasted efforts. His valiance in war was nothing but a pathetic sham. The mastermind revealed. She sparked the conflict using Pavili's vast, glittering wealth as bait. A serpent in silk, Royce, like a spoiled brat, blames Ahmad for his stolen glory. He's powerless against the Duke. Even his secret assassins failed their mission to kill him. Veronica lures him back. "Prove your worth, and the Emperor's crown will surely be yours." She chose him over Ahmad. She blames the Empress for the Emperor's growing coldness. As she leaves, Royce concocts a scheme born of pure, pathetic desperation. Steal the Duke's wife for revenge? Get a grip, Royce. You've completely lost your mind. Unaware of the danger, 𝒃 tries to coax her good boy Ahmad to sleep. But this playful Duke refuses. He has far more carnal plans in mind tonight. Ah, young love. But Veronica is sick of hearing 𝒃's name praised by everyone. The nobility is obsessed with the Duchess, fueling Veronica's green-eyed monster of jealousy. She must strike. Ahmad's full recovery makes her position more precarious than ever. Royce is heir, yet the Emperor favors his second son, the brilliant Prince Leon. Leon is a tactical genius, though he lacks the Duke's raw, overwhelming military might. If Ahmad supports Leon, the throne shifts. The Sun Knights hold the kingdom's fate. To shine brightest, 𝒃 needs the Sunday. How better to steal the moonlight? By destroying the Sunday, she's truly a predator, hiding beneath a fragile lamb's skin. Back at the villa, passion flares. 𝒃 struggles to match Ahmad's endless, fiery stamina. She blushes at the marks, undeniable proof of his insatiable, obsessive hunger for her. Yet she treasures their time. Even Lorna notices their souls are now completely inseparable. Their deep bond is undeniable. But trouble arrives when Camilla demands a private meeting. The audacity. Camilla demands the Duchess's seal back, refusing to accept her defeat. This woman never learns. 𝒃 refuses to yield without her husband's explicit permission. Camilla's rage boils over, but the Duchess is finished with her petty, tired tantrums. A confession looms. 𝒃 wants to tell Ahmad the truth that she can't bear children. Camilla panics. Don't. If he knows, his obsession will only grow more terrifyingly intense. That woman even dared to mock 𝒃's insecurities. However, 𝒃 stood firm, knowing her choice was righteous. With a cruel smirk, Camilla revealed a dark secret. Raymond's sister was cast away after suffering a tragic miscarriage and infertility. She cursed 𝒃, claiming this would be her inevitable future. These chilling words continued to haunt 𝒃's troubled mind. Lost in thought, 𝒃 journeyed to the training grounds where her husband commanded the knights, feeling completely uncertain. Upon arrival, she insisted on exploring alone. She convinced Lord Herod to let her find the training area herself. She longed to witness her husband in action. Ahmad surely looked magnificent while commanding his men. She prioritized her heart over logic, perhaps overestimating her direction. In the end, she found herself utterly lost. She should have accepted an escort. Fortunately, Ahmad was patrolling the dense woods at that very moment. When he spotted her, his eyes flared with protective rage. She was wandering recklessly. Celine softly thanked him for her rescue. Seeing her radiant smile, Ahmad's fury instantly melted away. He gently warned her to be more careful from now on. As they entered the main palace, Celine froze in shock. Empress Sophia looked exactly like the treacherous Camilla. The Empress greeted them warmly, but Celine couldn't stop comparing this woman to the tragic figure in the novel. She was nothing like the grieving, broken mother described in the book, who was consumed by her son's illness. Instead, she appeared iron-willed. Celine realized the story was shifting because of her interference in this world. Sensing her visible distress, Ahmad tenderly touched her forehead, worrying if his precious wife had fallen ill. Celine flushed with sudden embarrassment. Her husband was being so openly affectionate right in front of the Empress. Empress Sophia found their bond quite amusing, yet her gaze turned sorrowful when mentioning the frail Prince Leon. She desperately prayed that her son would recover from his sickness, just as Ahmad miraculously had. But Celine knew the original plot: Leon was destined to die alone. Meanwhile, Ahmad was rapidly losing his patience. He demanded to know the Empress's true agenda. She finally revealed her plea. She needed Ahmad to protect Leon. The Empress warned of Prince Royce's suspicious movements and the massive army being funded by Lady Veronica. However, the Empress doubted the Emperor would ever permit a marriage between the scheming Royce and Veronica. The Duke made his stance crystal clear. He would not take sides in this bloody struggle for the throne. The Empress pleaded for family loyalty, reminding him that he was the young Prince Leon's only uncle. She noted that, as commander of the Sun Knights, he held the power to choose the next rightful ruler. Yet, Ahmad remained cold. He believed his intervention in the succession would be entirely unnecessary for the boy. On the carriage ride home, Selene softly asked if the Empress's heavy request was weighing on his mind. Ahmad vowed to ensure that the extreme measure of him choosing an emperor would never have to happen. He was visibly frustrated, never wanting his beloved wife to be bothered by such dangerous and messy political affairs. Blushing, Celine leaned onto his shoulder. Overcome with love, the Duke kissed her passionately. They were truly obsessed. Moments later at the mansion, Celine received a private visit from a doctor for a secret examination. She requested contraceptives and swore him to absolute secrecy regarding her ongoing treatments for her hidden infertility. Suddenly, Celine was summoned by the Empress. She was stunned when the Empress declared Leon must become emperor. She demanded the Duke's support. Despite the immense pressure, Celine firmly stated this matter rested solely with Ahmad. The Empress pressured her to use her feminine influence to sway the Duke's iron will to her side. But the Duchess knew her husband followed a righteous path. She would never ask him to betray his beliefs. Then, the Empress dropped a bombshell. Ahmad still didn't know his wife was unable to bear his children. She intended to use this secret as blackmail. Truly, she was just as wicked as her sister, Camilla. Fortunately, Celine's resolve was unbreakable. Even under such a cruel threat, she refused to manipulate her husband's honor. She exited the Empress's chambers with a graceful bow. But another shadow awaited her outside the palace gates. The Crown Prince approached her with a sinister air. As expected, he acted creepily, trying to corner her alone. He feigned intimacy before suggesting that Ahmad should simply hand her over to him to ensure his success. He spoke of her as a mere tool for trade. How could someone utter such vile and disgusting words? Amidst his insults, Ahmad suddenly appeared and seized the prince's arm with a bone-crushing grip. He threatened to shatter his arm for such insolence. The Duke threw him down, leaving the prince swearing vengeance. The coward flees from the Duke's shadow. What a pathetic sight. Only the two lovers remain. They share a tender embrace, finding solace in each other's arms. But back at the manor, Celine feels the weight of her secret medication. Determined to be honest, she summons Lorna. She cancels the pills. Suddenly, the unwelcome Veronica arrives for another unannounced visit. Expecting a confrontation about the prince, their conversation quickly turns into a lethal battle of wits. Veronica boasts about silencing the scandal. She warns Celine not to provoke her. Unfazed, Celine counters. Imagine the queen's fury if she knew the prince harassed a duchess. Veronica's mask finally slips. She claims the prince was the victim. Then, she reveals she knows Celine's secret past. Celine is stunned. How could she know? Her mother-in-law would never betray such private details. Caught in her own web of lies, Veronica stammers. She tries to backpedal immediately. Our duchess realizes the truth. Veronica must be connected to that shadowy world of vice. Celine mentions the secret opium den. Veronica freezes instantly, her guilty reaction confirming everything. Panic-stricken, Veronica attacks Celine's past employment at that very club. Celine is unbothered. She already told her husband she was merely a humble seamstress there. Blackmail won't work. Celine has nothing to hide and no reason for shame. Celine strikes back, revealing she knows Veronica is just a fake daughter. The truth dawns. Veronica's hatred stems from pure envy. Celine mocks her rival's pathetic jealousy. Ahmad is her husband now. She reminds Veronica that she owns nothing in this life. What a devastating verbal blow. Seething with rage, Veronica abruptly turns and storms out. Celine delivers a final warning. Stay away from her man or face the consequences. Veronica spits back a threat. Enjoy your fleeting happiness before your house of cards collapses. The Duchess simply smirks. She has her own chilling message for the desperate woman. Secrets always return to haunt the guilty. Soon, a new tragedy strikes the manor. News arrives of Emma's death. The traitorous maid had been imprisoned for her crimes. She took her own life, but not before framing Celine for her wicked actions. Ahmad departs for the investigation. Celine wonders if Emma was truly silenced by someone. Something smells foul. Emma was Veronica's final pawn. Why discard her now? They shared an orphanage past. Emma held the key to ruining Veronica's noble facade. Needing a plan, Celine begins recording everything she remembers from the original novel. Veronica desires the crown. That means the emperor must die so Royce can take over. Ahmad discovers Emma was poisoned. A mysterious visitor was seen at the dungeon before death. The plot thickens. A prison guard has also turned up dead from the same toxin. To prevent a scandal before the festival, Ahmad moves to bury the case quickly. Meanwhile, Celine's mind is racing with possibilities. In the novel, the prince seizes the Sun Knights after the emperor's passing. The emperor's life is the key. As long as Ahmad stands tall, the throne remains secure. She thought knowledge made things easy. Now, the web of fate is growing tangled. Lost in thought, she's startled by Ahmad's sudden protective embrace from behind. Blushing at his obsession, she quickly asks for updates on the investigation. Ahmad shares the report. Celine finds it suspicious that he's closing the case so abruptly. She suspects Veronica planted Emma in the mansion. The pieces are starting to fit. After all, Camila was always too fond of her former favorite girl. Celine fears the emperor is next. Her husband gently promises to protect their future. The Grand Foundation Festival finally begins, drawing guests from across the land. Even Count Felt, the legendary General Ahmad crushed in battle, stood ready. The Crown Prince prepared to welcome our Duke. Ahmad arrived alongside Prince Leon, igniting Royce's explosive temper. He nearly lashed out, but Veronica's cold grip stopped him. She hissed that Ahmad was merely a pawn following orders. The emperor himself would soon escort his second son. To protest now would make the prince a national laughingstock. Royce had no choice but to retreat in silent fury. He swore a blood oath of vengeance. Honestly, the delusions of this arrogant fool knew no bounds. When Celine entered the gala, her breath caught. Her husband looked breathtakingly handsome, his hair styled in a sleek, powerful look. Ahmad's hand reached out, inviting his wife to the floor. Their dance was a masterpiece, leaving the entire court mesmerized. Later, they found a moment of peace beneath the stars. As they shared a quiet conversation, Celine suddenly felt the world spin. She collapsed, but the Duke's strong arms caught her before she hit the ground. She quickly regained her senses. Seeing the Duke's intense worry, she lied, blaming her fragile constitution for the dizzy spell. Ahmad's gaze softened, and he leaned in dangerously close. He wanted a kiss. Celine suddenly remembered the doctor's scandalous advice about spending the night with the Duke after his recovery. She wondered if that treatment would actually be effective. But as his lips met hers in a sweet, lingering kiss, she pushed the thought away. Meanwhile, the Crown Prince was having another pathetic tantrum. Veronica urged him to stay calm, reminding him of her grand, dark design for the throne. She demanded he crown her queen. After he promised, she revealed her secret weapon, a high-level spy within the palace. They were tracking every shadow in the emperor's court. Soon, the most anticipated event began, the grand jousting tournament. Knights faced off in a draw of fate. Amidst the cheering crowd, Celine stood watching from the sidelines. The sight of lances shattering against armor was brutal. A wave of nausea washed over her as she watched. The violence felt suffocating, yet she couldn't look away. Her heart hammered as her husband finally stepped onto the field. Celine's eyes widened at the massive size of the jousting lance her husband was expected to wield. She panicked, still fearing for her supposedly frail Ahmad. Worse, his opponent was none other than the vengeful Crown Prince. She prayed for a fair fight. Before the signal, Celine hurried to Ahmad's side and tied a lucky silk ribbon. She begged him to stay safe, but Ahmad just smiled. He confidently promised to win the grand prize for her. The clash between the two rivals was nothing short of savage. The air crackled with their mutual hatred. Despite the prince's desperate, dirty tactics, he was no match for the Duke. Ahmad's victory prize? A stunning, radiant crown. Who else but his beautiful wife deserved to wear it? They shared a passionate kiss before the stunned noble crowd. Ahmad whispered that the gemstone was named Celine, fitting her perfectly. Then, Celine recalled a forgotten detail from the novel. This crown was originally meant for Veronica, earning her the title Lady of the Crown in the original story. Veronica warned Royce that the Emperor had a secret decree. He planned to name the Duke his official successor soon. To stop this, Veronica revealed a dark pact. Queen Lilos would support the prince's coup with her hidden army. The price? Royce had to surrender the 𝒂💏 territory and Lilos' entire military command to the queen. His only other options were to rot in obscurity or find a more dangerous ally to seize the throne. He chose the path of blood and ordered Lord Herod to lure the Duke away with a deadly distraction. Meanwhile, Celine gazed out from the balcony, feeling a strange loneliness without her protector, André, by her side. André was busy guarding Prince Leon. Suddenly, Lord Herod appeared, hiding his treachery behind a mask of lies to trap Celine. He claimed André was calling for her in the deep woods. It was a cold, calculated lie to kidnap her. Herod threw a dark hood over her head. As Celine's vision faded to black, a terrifying question remained. How could she fall for such a trap? Ahmad was soon informed of her disappearance, sensing Herod's filthy handiwork. He remained eerily calm, deploying half his elite force to find her. Suspecting Royce's coup, he ordered the rest to reinforce the royal guards immediately. Meanwhile, Veronica's venomous words fueled the prince's desperate urge to kill. Royce stormed the king's chambers with his assassins, slaughtering the unsuspecting guards in a crimson bloodbath. But he froze. Ahmad was waiting for him. The prince was horrified that the Duke wasn't distracted by the kidnapping. Royce began to scream like a madman, his sanity slipping away. Ahmad coldly declared that Royce had committed high treason. Steel clashed as their soldiers engaged in a final, bloody battle. Before Ahmad could deliver the finishing blow, the king spoke, officially naming Ahmad the next emperor. Prince Royce's royal title was stripped away forever as his treacherous abdication plans were exposed. As the festival ended, fate took a turn. Lord Herod had betrayed Royce, siding with the crown instead. Celine was whisked away to safety under Ahmad's ironclad protection. Orders were given to ensure her absolute security. Good heavens, what a shocking plot twist. The emperor finally had to face the consequences of failing to raise his son with a righteous heart. He sternly ordered Royce to be imprisoned within the cold North Tower. However, one look at the emperor's face revealed the truth. Hearing Royce's desperate cries, the emperor's heart broke for his son's tragic fate. Yet, he maintained his royal composure, commanding Ahmad to keep the incident hidden until the festival concluded. Having survived the trial, Ahmad stepped out to witness the rising sun. A new dawn was beginning. News arrived that Count Felt's men who backed the rebellion were captured. Ahmad didn't hesitate, ordering the immediate arrest of the Count himself. Everyone praised Lord Herod for his magnificent work in keeping Celine safe. It was truly a relief. Ahmad reflected on the emperor's complex heart. Despite his son's murderous intent, the emperor's love was so deep that his punishment remained surprisingly merciful. How could this be? But a new shadow loomed. Veronica had vanished, causing Ahmad's anxiety to spike. He immediately ordered his loyal subordinates to track her down. Meanwhile, Celine felt a wave of dizziness as Lord Herod delivered the news. The situation was more intense than she imagined. Her worries for Ahmad were cut short when he appeared before her. The two lovers shared a heart-fluttering moment, embracing tightly to comfort one another. Safe at last in their manor, Celine nearly collapsed again. That's 2 times now, this couldn't just be a coincidence. Terrified, Ahmad summoned a doctor immediately. The healer's advice was clear. Celine needed healthy, nourishing food fit for 2 people. A miracle! Celine was pregnant once more. She and Ahmad held each other, overwhelmed by the joyous news. Oh, we feared the worst, but it turned out to be the greatest blessing for our beloved couple. I'm so happy for them. Protective Ahmad went into overdrive, preparing a mountain of sweet desserts for his pregnant wife. He was incredibly serious about her health. Celine needed to gain weight to endure the long pregnancy ahead. The two spent a tender moment reminiscing about their romantic journey over sweets, when suddenly, Lady Camilla barged in. She threw the doors open to offer congratulations on the pregnancy. Admittedly, she had been waiting for this for a very long time. It seemed fine at first, but her presence was toxic. Ahmad immediately stepped between his mother and Celine, making his stance crystal clear. She was not welcome there. He had the staff escort Lady Camilla to her room, while Celine wondered how she even got in. To protect his wife and unborn child, Ahmad gave a firm vow. He would find a place where Lady Camilla could never disturb their peace. At last, the final day of the Foundation Festival arrived. It began with Duchess Kennet's play, followed by a grand ball. Since Celine needed rest, they decided to only attend the performance. However, Celine was lost in thought about Veronica's whereabouts. Ever since her father and fiancé perished, she had become a ghost. With so many people being detained, Celine felt an eerie chill. Ahmad caught her staring, sensing a mystery lurking beneath the surface. But who could blame her for being distracted when her husband was just too handsome? After a bit of playful teasing, Ahmad confessed his eternal love. A tearful Celine looked into his eyes, and they sealed their devotion with a passionate kiss. During a quiet afternoon, a cloaked figure lurked in the shadows. She overheard townspeople whispering about the night's intensified search for a missing person. Rumors were also flying about who would be the next successor. News of the fallen prince and his wife dominated the post-festival gossip. Then, a mysterious black-haired woman appeared. She was seething with resentment. The news of Celine's pregnancy, which everyone celebrated, only fueled her burning hatred. Rushing home in her Veronica disguise, she was losing her grip. A sense of pure madness radiated from her. Her jealousy of Celine's perfect life had reached a breaking point. With a crazed look in her eyes, Veronica grabbed her spare jewels. She swore that Celine would never escape her grasp. It's clear she has completely lost her mind. Meanwhile, Celine regretted not saying "I love you" during their most passionate moment. After Ahmad left, the dizziness returned, and she accidentally bumped into a very suspicious man. At the play, the Empress and Prince Leon were set to make an appearance. Ahmad was required to sit with the royals, meaning he and Celine couldn't go together. Tragically, as Celine made her way alone. On the path to the theater, a sickeningly sweet scent filled the air. It overwhelmed her senses, and she collapsed into unconsciousness. Just like that, Celine's fate was left hanging by a thread. Goodness, why was she without any bodyguards at a time like this? While Ahmad wondered when she would finally return his "I love you," he realized she was missing. At that moment, Celine woke up. She was trapped in a dark, empty dungeon with none other than Veronica. They were still hidden somewhere beneath the vast imperial palace grounds. It was time for a full-scale search. The heavy, suffocating scent of Veronica's perfume made Celine's skin crawl with dread. Finally, the truth surfaced. Veronica was masking the stench of the vile parasites consuming her body with heavy perfumes. But in her madness, Veronica pointed fingers at Ahmad, claiming he and Lady Louis were secretly plotting her downfall together. She accused them of manipulating Royce into a coup while she ruthlessly targeted Celine and her unborn child with threats. Celine stood her ground without a flicker of fear, declaring that Veronica alone was the architect of her own ruin. Her insatiable thirst for power and social standing had led her to infiltrate the empire through a web of deceit. Why was Celine so calm? Because her faith was absolute. She knew her husband would never fail to find her side. Veronica spat insults, claiming Celine was merely a pretty face, but the Duchess shut down her malice with sharp logic. Desperate, Veronica struck a match, swearing to drag Celine into hell with her. The woman had truly spiraled into psychosis. Her fractured mind was now capable of the unthinkable. Celine's eyes widened as she witnessed the depths of Veronica's cruelty. Consumed by a thirst for revenge, Veronica was ready to sacrifice herself just to make Ahmad suffer through Celine's demise. Yet, Celine warned that while her death would wound the Duke, time and a new family would eventually heal him. This was a calculated move, baiting Veronica to view her as a valuable pawn to torment Ahmad while he lived. Celine was prepared for anything. She would either escape this darkness or perish right alongside her captor. She manipulated Veronica's greed, suggesting she use her to force Ahmad into restoring Royce's royal titles and their lost glory. Unfortunately, the gamble seemed to fail. Veronica had lost all reason and no longer cared for titles or the future. In a fit of rage, Veronica pressed a dagger to Celine's throat. Meanwhile, Ahmad's men were desperately searching every corner. Ahmad discovered Celine's discarded crown in a dark alley, cursing himself for letting her be taken without a fight. The lingering scent of powerful sedatives filled the air, confirming his fears that she had been ambushed and kidnapped. Suddenly, a breakthrough. Ahmad was informed that his men had captured a commoner carrying one of Celine's precious jewels. A terrifying, silent fury masked Ahmad's face as he demanded to be led to the prisoner. "Celine, please hold on." She was trapped with a lunatic. Ahmad prepared to extract the truth from the man who dared cross him. The prisoner crumbled in terror. He was the same man Celine had accidentally encountered earlier that fateful day. The man led the Duke's forces to the drop-off point, but the rooms were cold and empty of life. Neither woman was there. Ahmad realized there must be secret passages hidden deep within the old estate's walls. He knew Veronica was hiding her tracks, trying to vanish into the shadows before his obsession could hunt her down. Ordering his men to clear the area, Ahmad prepared to confront Royce, just as the small building erupted in flames. The explosion was a haunting warning. Celine was facing a danger more explosive than the fire itself. Miraculously, Celine had used her wits to stay alive as Veronica dragged her through the damp, lightless dungeon tunnels. Using her legendary negotiation skills, Celine tried to convince the madwoman to at least loosen the heavy ropes. But Veronica's eyes were vacant, completely devoid of sanity. It was a chilling sight that made Celine's blood run cold. Veronica mocked her, claiming Ahmad would never find them because only she and Royce knew these labyrinthine secrets. Little did she know, the Duke was already closing in. Royce was about to be startled by a very unwelcome guest. Ahmad loomed over him like a demon, demanding his wife's location, but Royce seemed genuinely clueless about the kidnapping. Ahmad pressed him for details on their original scheme, realizing Celine's plan to bait them was finally bearing fruit. Even after a devastating blow from the Duke, Royce refused to speak, clinging to his crumbling pride and silence. Ahmad handed him over for a brutal interrogation. Feeling the crushing urgency of every second, Celine remained in danger. "Hurry, Ahmad," Celine thought, her mind racing to find a way out of the darkness for her child's sake. She struggled to stay calm in the windowless void, knowing escape was impossible while her hands remained bound in iron. Celine considered screaming for help, but it was as if the villainess could sense her every desperate thought. Veronica kept the dagger dangerously close to Celine's skin until they reached a dead end in the silent tunnels. "What is your end goal?" Celine demanded. Veronica's eyes gleamed with a twisted plan to sell the Duchess's life. She intended to use Celine as a bargaining chip, betting everything on the fact that Ahmad was hopelessly obsessed. She believed the Duke would trade his power and Royce's crown just to see his beloved wife safe again. But Celine knew better. For her to be truly free, both Veronica and Royce had to be stopped forever. Suddenly, the wall shattered. Ahmad and his men had breached the secret path, coming to reclaim what was his. At long last, the moment of Celine's grand liberation had finally arrived. Ahmad roared for his wife's release, but the serpent Veronica held a blade against her throat. The Duke offered a final bargain, safe passage for the traitors if they let Celine go. But the madwoman only laughed, claiming her twisted gamble would yield a much greater prize. Ahmad was forced to surrender his succession decree, which Veronica demanded be burned immediately. Without hesitation, Ahmad surrendered everything to ensure Celine's safety, even freeing the pathetic Royce. The villains rejoiced, but as Royce stumbled toward his ally, their bond proved a lie. Knowing Veronica would never show mercy, Celine decided to take fate into her own hands. She shattered a nearby lamp, sending a wall of hungry flames roaring through the room. The inferno forced Veronica to drop her dagger, but her thirst for revenge remained unquenched. In a final act of desperation, the villainess lunged through the smoke to grab Celine. She tackled Celine to the ground, ruthlessly strangling her as Ahmad watched in absolute horror. Ahmad struck like lightning to subdue her, desperately checking if his precious wife still breathed. He finally shattered her bonds and swept her into his arms to escape the ruins. Amidst the chaos, Celine looked back at the defeated Veronica, now trapped by the fire. The villainess screamed for help, locking eyes with Celine before begging Royce for salvation. But the spineless Royce retreated into the shadows, abandoning his partner to the encroaching flames. Veronica collapsed into the embers, and the desperate Royce snatched up the fallen dagger. He aimed for Ahmad's back, hoping to strike while the Duke was protecting his wife. But Ahmad's swordsmanship was legendary. With one swift motion, he effortlessly severed the traitor's arm. As the fire peaked, Lord Herod arrived to deliver the final blow to the broken Royce. Ahmad fought through the thick smoke, his heart racing as Celine's breathing became dangerously shallow. Darkness began to pull at her consciousness, her husband's frantic calls fading into an echo. Back at the manor, the now obsessed Ahmad refused to leave her bedside for a second. Celine remained in a deep, agonizing slumber, her body exhausted from the harrowing trauma. Only when the royal physician arrived did Ahmad finally allow himself to step back. The doctor confirmed she was merely resting and would wake once her strength returned. This was a divine relief for Ahmad, who now viewed Celine as his life's purpose. He watched her every breath so intensely that he even began to doubt the doctor. He questioned the physician's expertise, unable to handle another second of her being so still. Finally, Celine's eyes fluttered open, her first instinct being to comfort her husband's visible distress. Ahmad pulled her into a crushing embrace, whispering his eternal love into her hair. After surviving such a nightmare, Celine finally understood the depth of the Duke's obsessive devotion. She cupped his face gently and finally whispered back the words, "I love you." She leaned in to listen to his racing heart, a moment of pure, heart-fluttering romance. "We'll allow the cheesiness this once." Soon, news of the failed coup spread everywhere. Royce was stripped of all titles and sentenced to rot forever in the North Tower. As for the wicked Veronica, she was condemned to the darkness of the deepest dungeon. Justice had been served. With the traitors gone, the king moved forward with his plans. He officially retired from the throne, naming the vibrant Prince Leon as his official successor. A grand coronation followed shortly after, signaling a new era of peace for the kingdom. For Ahmad, his heroic defense earned him the highest recognition for stopping the failed coup. He was appointed as the official regent for young Emperor Leon, receiving a prestigious title. Now, the Grand Duke of 𝒂𝒓𝒚, the newly elevated Ahmad set out to handle business. He visited the former queen to finalize the appointment of Duke Koné as co-regent. Ahmad's silver tongue dazzles the court, proving he is a master of political intrigue and diplomacy. This alliance secures the young emperor's future while the fallen Royce and Leon families finally vanish. But the Duke has one condition. Every victory must serve the interests of his beloved wife. The Empress Dowager is stunned, revealing a secret gift she has already prepared for Celine. She never expected Ahmad's obsession with Celine to run this incredibly deep. Ahmad demands the empire's crown jewel, 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒈, as his reward for loyalty and recent success. He claims strategic logic, but his true motive is ensuring Celine's total independence and wealth. He wants 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒈 for his wife. The Empress realizes he's making Celine a Grand Duchess, a title she gladly bestows. Back in her arms, Ahmad holds her close, whispering of the power he secured. Under a golden sun, the couple arrives at their breathtaking new sanctuary in 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒈. Ahmad kept his word. Lady Camilla's shadow will never haunt their happy home again. Inside the manor, a paradise of luxury and peace awaits the two devoted lovers. Though Celine still worries, Ahmad vows she need never face the royal court's pressure again. But Celine refuses to hide, choosing to stand proudly beside her husband as his equal. She even offers a prayer for Camilla, whose interference led her to Ahmad's side. Ahmad pulls her into a passionate embrace, swearing that destiny would have found them regardless. Fate itself conspired to bind their souls together in this beautiful, once-in-a-lifetime love. Yet, one step was missed. They shared a wedding night without a proper ceremony. Now, with Celine carrying his heir, Ahmad kneels to offer a proposal of eternal devotion. Their lips meet to seal this sacred promise of love before the whole world. A tender kiss confirms that their souls have finally found where they truly belong. So ends the tale of a contract bride who became the Duke's true lifelong obsession. Through every twist and turn, their love proved invincible. Thank you for joining Celine's journey. Stay tuned for more epic romances that defy the odds. Until next time, farewell.